At this moment, the world has entered the Ice Age. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51. August 10th, 10 o'clock in the morning. Due to sunshine, the weather in Aix, the Western Rose, United States, is cloudy. This state is also known as a state of science and technology because Massachusetts universities, Xihai universities, the world's #1 meteorological research institute, and the world's first astronomical center are all built here. Now in front of the No. 1 Aix Meteorological Institute. The director of meteorology Yiruk stands straight, and in front of him are reporters one by one. These reporters are frantically asking about the weather. Professor Irike, how do you think about this kind of thing, when the world is getting colder and the duration of sunshine is getting shorter at the same time? Yes, Professor, many scholars believe that the current sunshine hours are the arrival of some kind of huge disaster. How do you think about it, Mr. Irike, as the world's #1 meteorological director, with the most abundant information? How do you view recent current events? The reporter held the microphone and asked questions one by one. Irike tidied up his tie. His expression was extremely solemn, and he looked at the reporter and said, "Everyone, I can only tell you that the United States of Roses is about to start a great project." After meteorological director Yiruk spoke, the white reporters burst into pieces, because this answer is too explosive. Do you mean a mega project like the Eastern one, or is this a plan to resist disasters, such as the Noah's Ark rumored on the internet? Mr. Iriko, can you tell me about the plan? Professor Iriko, is the plan above ground or underground? The reporters were asking questions, and Professor Yiruk then walked into the meteorological bureau under the protection of the staff. But from this morning, the Western Oil Pipeline Twitter burst. The first subscription news on the YouTube homepage. Is the large-scale project of the United States of Roses a means to resist disasters? Under this news, it was a message from white people all over the West. Don't tell me what huge project to start. The East started the train, and there was construction. I now know why the East started this kind of plan. They really have excellent foresight and excellent judgment. Yes, judging from the prediction of the current planet, the decision made by the East may be the most amazing. I never thought that their project would be so shocking now. The East is really terrifying. They are ahead of us in the mega project. This world has really come from the information age to the infrastructure age. At this moment, the Special Research Institute is located in the suburbs, so it has not been demolished. The conference room of the Special Research Institute's infrastructure building is sunny in the east, and the floor-to-ceiling windows are illuminated by the long-lost sunlight. In the meeting room, there are infrastructure members Eduo Yan, Deputy Team Leader Zhao Guofeng, Interior Chief Lin Ping, and Train Deputy Team Leader Chen Jiang. They are watching the projection. This is a Western interview video, as well as Western people's comments. What's their trump card? Zhao Guofeng couldn't help but ask. Clatter in the meeting room. Zeduo Yan habitually imitated the team leader eyeing. He knocked on the floor-to-ceiling windows. He drew a very simple underground pipe on the white drawing board. This is the most famous building in the United States of Roses. One by one underground buildings. Every underground excavation. Then build underground shelters that can defend against nuclear, heat, and cold. Then connect them to form a traffic trench. Zhao Guofeng couldn't help but speak. He felt very keenly, yes, we are united and can call on 2 billion people to engage in infrastructure construction and production at the same time in a short time. As for the United States of Roses, their best way is to underground defense stations. This is not comparable. We are confronting disasters. Survive in the disaster. Zeduo Yan said. Clatter footsteps sounded. At the moment, Ying Ziyue came to the door of the meeting room. He walked and paced to the window. Next is the era of infrastructure construction. It is a comparison of the cards of each major country. Let the world guess who has the stronger card. Chapter 52. The announcement of the big project by the United States of Roses seems like a beginning point. It started in the morning on the 10th. Afterwards, the Eagle country announced the start code for the Eagle Falcon. project. Glacier Country was launched as a Hangzhou project. Kawasaki Country launched the Yaki Infrastructure Construction project on this day. Starting with the tubing, all the news above has changed. What exactly is the project of the United States of Roses, the underground excavation project? Glacier State Shipyard expanded again, suspected to be the Hangzhou project? Kawasaki Country's Achiki Infrastructure Development, which is more like an infrastructure enhancement plan. The United States of Roses, Chinatown Mall College. Here is a third-rate university. There are many foreign students, and the test scores are not high. Many international students come to gold-plated. By the way, apply for a green card point at this moment in this college class. The white professor announced a temporary suspension of work point after hearing the news. Many international students in the class looked complicated point. They all watched the videos posted by the bloggers followed by the mobile phone oil pipe, and their faces became more and more weird. It's really coming from the information age to the infrastructure age. The project for all. A fat overseas student smiled bitterly. The project of the East is now praised by the world. Several international students looked at each other a few times, and their smiles became more bitter. They have realized something. Since the announcement of the plan by the East Point, now that the national project has begun, they know how terrifying the Eastern plan is, and they have also missed the best opportunity. There are many scenes like this at the moment, including a group of college scholars discussions on Twitter. This is a Twitter classified chat room titled Global Engineering Discussion. Anyone who can join this discussion group are well-known PhDs from geography, biology, history, sociology, meteorology and other disciplines that use Twitter around the world. Point at this moment, they are arguing, using academic means to discuss the current global situation. Massachusetts meteorology. The planet has entered a dense week. The gas is covered, and the melting of the B-15 glacier has stopped halfway. This all means that some unknown large-scale disaster is coming. Now, except for a few large volcanoes, there are no eruptions, small ones. The volcano has erupted almost 5,000 years in total. I suspect it will be some kind of extreme cold, when we will test humanity in various choices. Xihai Eve of sociology. Gentlemen, once a disaster strikes, human nature will be the most complicated, and there will be various choices. We probably know that the plan of the United States of Roses is an underground defense station, and each one starts to build this kind of project. I can only say that the introduction of this defense plan will test the food reserves, as well as the major projects. Now I know it. The Eastern Plan is shocked. Eve, a social professor from Xihai University in the United States of Roses, analyzed very accurately that food and living space are very important. As for the disaster, they can't be sure, just infer that it is extremely cold at present, because the current trend is extremely cold. After mentioning this topic, the discussion group topic went from global engineering to Eastern engineering. How to engineering Jamco. I also know the Dongfang project. I don't know what disaster will come next, but as a PhD in engineering, I only know that Dongfang's train and national demolition guarantee, in order to resist tsunamis and earthquakes. Their engineering is great and shocking. Prin biology green run. Yes, according to the trend of biological extinction, the next major disaster may be real. I don't know if it will be a flood or an earthquake, or a huge volcanic eruption, or a collision. At the moment, this is the college discussion group. As for those Twitter tubing, the public discussion is more straightforward. Twitter's first subscription ranking, global engineering. The message is as follows. Fact. After the disaster, it will be human nature. Food will be scarce. It will be completely scarce. Then we will linger and panting. Yes, I'm in Miles State, and I seem to have seen the next scene of food scarcity. Food is scarce. Housing is difficult. Human choices. 5 p.m. The sky was pitch black. Extremely pitch black. In the Special Research Institute restaurant, Ying Ziyue and his party are dining. Simple Chinese meals. 3 meals and 1 soup. Zhao Guofeng retrieved the news, as well as a more detailed report of each country's whole cards. Ying organization. Now Western people are worried about food and survival after the end. Guess what the people of our country are commenting on after seeing this news? Zhao Guofeng looks strange. Ying Ziyue looked curious, and Xiao Guofeng opened the comment point. The mega hot search is the first. The global project has started. The Western democratic doomsday speech is sluggish. Worry about food. Worry about survival. Comment point worrying about survival. My country should have more food like dogs now. Cities are under construction. Even if the end is coming, we still enjoy watching the end. Not passing the end. Chen Shuiwen. I think the West probably doesn't know what the big agricultural powers in the East represent. Baozipu. Nothing else. I have seen the West test humanity. At the end of the day, we are thinking about what to eat in the grain pile. Mavericks love to gnaw grass. Well, for us, the doomsday means enjoying and watching the doomsday pass. Almost hundreds of thousands of comments, all of which are comments of this kind. The team of special research team couldn't help but burst into laughter. The citizens are like this, so why are they afraid of disaster at dinner? Ying Ziyue closed her phone, and he quickly ordered, in the last 50 days, the nationwide infrastructure construction will start day and night. In addition, food needs to be paid attention to. I'm also curious. The West pays attention to human nature and my country pays attention to infrastructure, food and grass. Therefore, what is the limit of my country's food and grass? Xiao Guofeng, Chief Forest Officer. Ying Ziyue said, here. The two stood up straight. Tomorrow, we will go to the Northern Ecological Park, and let the Northern Ecological Park enter the growth of grain, build walls. Received. The two smiled. It was only 5:30 at the moment. The sky was extremely dark. Now Yanjing is a piece of street lights, and the roar of demolition. The excavator smashing the foundation is roaring, buzzing. Under the dark night, the train station also revealed the towering body of steel. Not only Yanjing, but the whole country is in large-scale infrastructure construction and large-scale production. Chapter 53. August 11th, 11 o'clock in the morning. North Point is a province with agriculture-heavy industry and a large floating population. Since the beginning of July, the industry has stopped here, and the industry has moved to the south. There are vegetable farmers here, and every family supports the greenhouse dry vegetable plan. Almost every family has a greenhouse to grow vegetables with quick results and a short time. At the same time, in the cities of the northern provinces, almost out of the cities, you can see that all the corn and wheat are grown in the countryside. At this moment, it is located in Huangshi County. Dangshan Province in the North. Is a major county for importing and exporting corn and wheat. This county has almost every household contracting land to grow crops. At the same time, other nearby counties also collectively sell grain here. This is the true number one grain county in the East. Depart at 6 and arrive at 10. After leaving the red flag bulletproof car, Ying Ziyue, Xiao Guofeng, two plainclothes special policemen, and Zhuo Yan, a member of the infrastructure construction team, all dressed up like young entrepreneurs at this moment. This is the official building of Huangshi County. In front of the building, a radio is broadcasting. In response to the national call, in response to the grain reserve plan, all grain depots in the major northern agricultural provinces were opened. All grain depots were opened, and grain prices rose slightly. Residents are requested to go to the Huangshi purchasing station to sell grain to support the major country's grain storage plan. The broadcast is very cordial with the accent of the local accent. In front of the official building, a series of special reporter cars with headlines and media printed on them also headed towards the Huangshi acquisition station. Obviously, since the beginning of July, the purchase of grain and the purchase of imported and exported grain have begun. It is now considered to be an official grain meeting. Because of the recent national project, it has caused great enthusiasm. Many reporters have interviewed them. The situation of grain reserves. Ying Ziyue and his party also drove there. As the car arrived at the purchase station, it was temporarily set up as an open-air meeting. Ying Ziyue looked around like a private visit by a microservice. The purchase station was a huge warehouse filled with corn kernels. Wheat, almost 10 meters high, is a large storage warehouse behind the purchase station. There are many vegetable farmers, and reporters here. Cough cough cough. Everyone be quiet, let the reporter ask first. The head of the acquisition station is a bald middle-aged man, and he speaks with the microphone point. Then about 7 or 8 reporters flocked to them and began to inquire, "Hello, the impact of recent international events has caused everyone to be extremely concerned about food reserves. How about our country's food reserves?" the headline reporter asked. "The size of the grain is kept secret. I can only say that you saw the back of the purchase station." The station master spoke proudly. Behind the purchase station is a piece of newly built grain warehouses, each of which can store at least about 10 tons of grain. "Hello Station Master Chen, how about the quantity of vegetable farmers in my country?" another meager reporter asked. "This is the north. Vegetables can be supplied to the whole country before. Young people. This is common sense." The station master said helplessly. "This is common sense and the confidence of the north as a major agricultural province." Point outside the crowd. Ying Ziyue couldn't stand it anymore. The private interviews on the microservices looked at the confidence level of the people. The questions asked by these reporters were too general. A gesture was given to Ziyue Yan, who nodded confidently. After tidying up his black suit, he looked solemn. Ziyue Yan himself is the designer of the Twin Towers. He is in his 40s, wearing gold-framed glasses and bald. Then smiled and took a microphone from the reporter and asked, "Hello Station Master Chen, according to the global situation, the food may stop in the next few years, and the supply of dried vegetables will also be reduced. There are 2 billion people in our country. Can the supply of these food and vegetables be guaranteed?" Because he looked good temperament, the bald head Station Master Chen showed a smile. He took the microphone. His expression was extremely proud, and his expression was also extremely proud. Clatter. Stepping out of the position, standing in the middle of the podium, behind him are piles of grain waiting to be weighed. "First, we are a big agricultural country," Station Master Chen said proudly, loudly. "Many provinces in the north are large agricultural countries. The annual grain and the annual vegetable. In the past, we were still import and export. Almost the world knows that the East has the best and the most food, and the import and export supply is the strongest. As for vegetables, the North is suitable for the growth of vegetables due to the climate. There are greenhouses in every province here, which can supply the whole country before, but it will do the same in the next." A lot of people probably don't have a definition of a big agricultural country. I tell you that the East started from agriculture and its background is much stronger than you think. Our ancestors can grow only if they have land. This is the East's love for land, so unlike the West, we have the confidence in agriculture. After speaking, the reporters in the audience all took pictures and applauded at the same time. Ying Ziyue smiled and nodded. This is the benefit of a private visit, to see the confidence of every citizen. When a group of reporters were interviewing, large trucks with grains were unloading again. Looking at the grey wheat and the yellow corn, the special research team was very happy. Sure enough, before some kind of disaster strikes, the West is thinking about how to survive better, and how to survive with lower consumption. As for Dongfang thinking, what should I do if there are too many grain depots? Call. Feeling the heat at the scene, Ying Ziyue sighed, and now it has basically done it, accumulating food. It is almost time to start building walls, not only casting walls, but also installing anti-nuclear domes under the border. This is a high wall. Chapter 54. At that time, located in the small town of Soljef in the Eagle Country, there are Oriental students and White Eagle students here to form Soljef University, known as the International Solj University. At this moment, beside the university, there is an underground building modeled after World War II. This is a high-end coffee shop. Those who come here to drink coffee are some wealthy foreign students from the East, as well as some rich second-generation whites. It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At the large table in the coffee shop, 7 or 8 white and rich second generations are all sighing helplessly. The reason why they come to Madis Coffee is because of the underground specialty coffee shop. The underground nuclear defense station looks very defensive. These rich second generations are panicers of doomsday speech. The lead was a strong man, Jeff, who stood up now with a solemn expression. "Everyone, I think you should all be aware of disasters. Since 2012, the mayor predicted disasters. Now the global geology is changing again. I really feel that disasters are coming." Jeff opened his mouth. At the coffee table, these people were all talking about their suggestions. Their family was rich and well connected, and they were college graduates, and knew how to design a solid defense project. I suggest buying those abandoned underground nuclear research institutes. We start to build and store food. As long as it is not an earthquake, volcanic eruption, or tsunami, we are right. If it is a zombie, or if it is cold, we can survive. A dirty white man said, no, 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 I think it's a tsunami. Several of my oceanographic friends have said that there will be a large volcanic eruption on the bottom of the sea. I think a small ark with fast time and robustness can be built. Of course, this is a top secret plan. We can buy it. The warships eliminated by the military and then refitted. We have the money and can hire engineers from Oriental students, said a pale-skinned young man. Food. If it really comes, it will test the food crisis. We are short of food. We lack the damn food. Don't tell me to store food. The ark can't store so much. A fat man smiled bitterly. They are the rich second generation and don't like to spend money, but they like to have doomsday speeches and panic, so they are so solemn. There are many people like this in the West, and there are even many doomsday mutual aid associations. I think food is very important. Food reserve is very important. The young man with plaited braids spoke again. Our maker. Go and watch FAQ. There was a scream, and a white man pointed to the big screen in the center of the coffee shop. I saw on the screen. The video played was an interview video from the major eastern agricultural province, and the station master Chen was directly talking, and what he said was translated. Behind him were piles of golden grain, and there are carts of grain transporting around. This scene looks extremely spectacular. Then the video ends with intercepted individual comments of eastern netizens. Netizen crossing the Yangtze River in white. Oh, isn't it normal? The East reserves food as normal. The West probably doesn't know how to write the word agriculture. Netizen Chen Leoniu. Thank you. If there is a disaster, it will be a confrontation and a duel for us. It's also a good survival. To borrow a line, rolling in the grain, reminiscing about civilization. Netizen Guo. Doomsday. I think the East will work together to complete the doomsday planting infrastructure game. This is the strength of the East: hard work, reserve, and unity. After watching these videos, in the Maddis coffee shop, the group of people was in a daze, smiling bitterly. Fact squid. How strong is this big country in the East? How much grain do they store? I saw piles of grain depots, because their citizens are very confident about these grain reserves. We are still discussing how to better reduce supplies and reserve food. Their citizens are actually confidently saying that they are fighting the disaster. This is a strong white man. His face is extremely complicated at this moment. This is simply a gap, Jeff. They are not only food reserves, they also have trains around the country, and all the people are demolishing the filthy. Braided youth smiled bitterly. At this moment, the face of the young man called Jeff darkened. Allah is here. There should be panic before the disaster. There should be chaos. It should be the beginning of rushing to buy food. Why is it like this at this moment? Several apocalyptic white rich second generations have complex expressions. They can't believe that the people of the East are fighting against disasters, resisting them, rather than considering survival and human nature. This is horrible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. August 12th. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the Statue of Liberty in the West had just been illuminated by the sun. At 9 o'clock, the sun has just appeared, but in the city of roses that never sleeps, street lights are shining, and it is always prosperous and busy. It is said that the Statue of Liberty carries a color of Wall Street stocks. This is the West. Drop by drop. The female statue crosses a street, honking the whistle, which is mostly the sound of a pickup truck. The sound is roaring. At this moment, as the sun began to shine in beams, the broadcasting of every truck on the road stopped. There were also broadcasts in bookstores, in supermarkets, and broadcasts under Times Square. All stopped. Then an official emergency announcement sounded. Gentlemen and ladies, due to weather reasons, our country is about to launch the Sharpstone project. From now on, residents of each state can go to the police station and the community to submit plans for the construction of underground defense stations. Individuals can apply for the design of defense stations in their own homes. Individual communities set up large underground defense stations. At this moment, in every region of the Rose Country, official announcements are being broadcast. Point on the road. Bursts of exclamation sounded. Fact squid. What are you doing? Got, I'm not dreaming. I actually want us to dig those mouse holes. Fact. I just want to know, what is the purpose of this project? The controversy in the streets is loud. Point from 9 o'clock onwards. Twitter, YouTube, and state-ground magazines and newspapers have all become this kind of news. Open in the WEST=building underground residences across the country on YouTube. Many bloggers forwarded their messages in succession. WASD, our maker, Mr. Jehovah, please tell me that this is not a dream. Does the sun and the weather really predict the arrival of disasters? Why don't you start large projects earlier like those in the East? I now know the horror of the Eastern methods. Underground defense stations, large community underground stations, and small family underground stations. These are connected to form a traffic trench, and then there are even small underground vehicles. Is this building an underground city? Why the East is building on the ground, and we choose underground. On August 12th, the West officially announced the underground defense plan. It's 10 o'clock in Bor State. The Statue of Liberty is located in Bor State. Behind the statue is the official assembly building. On the third basement of the building, there is a silver gray high-tech conference room. A group of Western high-rise buildings are all in the building. Frown. Governor of Bor, Jack Ben, stood straight. In front of him were ministers of borders, economics, and global statistics. Mr. Governor, a month ago, the East completed the acquisition of the Middle East, the Tsar, and the US crude oil. Together with the previous acquisition reserves, they can use it for about 5 years, the border minister said. Mr. Jackburn, the East's grain reserves are unknown, but we can be sure that they made a wave of large-scale purchases of global grain a month ago. 15% of the world's grain was purchased. At the same time, this country has been none of the internal grains have been sold outside, and the Dongfang News Grain Depot announced that this does not rule out the fact that Dongfang's self-confidence and speculation of the people, but it can be seen that their grain and grass reserves are no problem. Mr. Governor, the total budget of the Eastern Railroad train track is 500,000 kilometers, and it has truly traveled around the country. At present, the track has basically been laid, and the foundation of the station has been built, the frame is being constructed, and the national demolition is about to be completed. A third of the national foundation has been carried out. A black female teacher of global statistics also spoke. Now, all high-level reports are complete. At this moment, the meeting room was quiet, and everyone looked complicated. Dongfang has been in the layout before, and the Special Research Institute has really achieved the layout, food, crude oil, and infrastructure, but no one is sure about the current disaster. Dongfang is also betting, but they are betting with the biggest hole card. Call on the National Center to start the construction of the underground defense station with all its strength, and to connect the defense station as soon as possible. The trump card of this infrastructure era, the United States of Roses, must be ahead of everyone. Governor Jack Byrne's fist rattled, and he admitted that the layout of the East was amazing this time. Train, national infrastructure. There is also an unknown infrastructure style giant city. Chapter 56. August 12. Dongshan Province, Huangshi Acquisition Terminal. This is an agricultural building, which is mainly used to calculate the scale of grain, vegetable leaf and other scale stations in the north, and it is also a grain purchase station in the country. At this moment, the headquarter Liu Dahai is watching the news. Yesterday, a reporter from Huangshi County interviewed an acquisition station that sparked a global upsurge. The head of the guard station Liu Dahai paid close attention to the news. Mega Zahoo. He only saw two hot search news. No one planned by the underground of the United States of Roses. Note to the trump card of Eastern agriculture. Under the meager comments about the underground station, the comments of the Eastern netizens are very strange. Xihai, our trains are flying, and you just started to build underground defense stations. Now you know the great project of the East. Piggy is really easy to kill. Trains, infrastructure, used to be commented all over the world. Do you know now? Know what is the layout of the big country? Nothing else. The big country is mighty. Alistair, a major agricultural country and a major infrastructure country. Although the internet is spreading disasters, I'm really curious at this moment. When the disaster strikes, how strong will our country be at that time? Clatter. Satisfied with the closed cell phone, the webmaster Xihai is very satisfied with the evaluation of the current people. The phone rang. This was a notification call from the house. When he hung up the phone, Xihai's expression completely changed, and he quickly dialed the number of every grain station master in the city. Because the official order just now, the new order, this is an encrypted mail operation arrangement. At 11 o'clock in the morning, all 10 grain station masters and 5 greenhouse station masters around Huangshi County were present. In the meeting room, Xihai took out a printed action report, which read about the construction of a large-scale supply to the south of the ecological park project. The project is as follows. Set up a temperature insulation layer. The third ecological park runs around the northern train station. The first line is the report about the large-scale ecological garden, and the following is the construction style, construction area, vegetable planting target, etc., which are very detailed. Only the first action book appeared, and the faces of the 15 station masters present changed. Sure enough, the instructions from above came. To build a tens of millions of vegetables, plant ecological garden as a vegetable supply, and build it near the northern train station, which means that the northern train station can continuously transport vegetables to the south and to Yanjing. Call. Taking a hard breath, a somewhat burly station master looked serious. Beginning. What disaster trump cards are the West preparing for? This time we will let the West see what is the trump card. The ecological park of tens of millions of levels. I don't know if this trump card is enough. Yes, it is the easiest to build this ecological greenhouse in the north. As long as you build a thermal shed, you can't even think about it. How big is our country's plan? It's amazing. The first plan is to start an ecological greenhouse with tens of millions of supplies. This is to gather all the vegetable greenhouses to plant peppers, cabbage, leeks, etc. These quick-acting vegetables, and you can plant fruit trees with higher cold resistance on the edges. The head of the station, Xihai, was very excited, and he talked with excitement. With the attention of other people's shining eyes, Xihai took out the second action book again, which was 2 action books in total. The second is to carry out a decentralized national reserve of national grain. The first is to store enough food for 2 billion people in the north and south to eat for 2 years. Second, to build underground grain storage warehouses for every city in the country to ensure that every city can reserve grain, which can be used for 5 years at the same time. Grain bank plan. Seeing this plan, the station master on the scene became more and more surprised. The first is to store food for 5 years in the underground warehouses of each city, and then store enough food for 2 billion people to eat for 2 years in the underground warehouses in the north and south. The 2 cards mean that a total of 5 years of food for the whole country can be supplied. This is going to be a protracted war. The West says it will be a major disaster. It seems that it is really going to be a protracted war. We are engaged in construction of new cities. The West is now engaged in underground defense stations and is still considering how to reduce consumption. Survive the Gankai station master said with a proud expression. That's right. The next step is to build underground grain depots in every newly constructed city. This plan is remarkable. Let alone disasters. Disasters are coming. Large trains are here. We can live in disasters for 5 years. Next, obey the arrangement. Head of the station Xihai said sternly. In the meeting room, a group of people also had various discussions, including food transportation, the area of ecological sheds, and so on. In less than a moment, the conference room was pushed aside by the station master's secretary. The secretary made a pleased gesture with a smile, and a group of people walked in. The head was a long gown wearing a black military uniform. He was tall and straight, and his eyebrows were very heroic. At the moment Ying Ziyue stood straight. He nodded in satisfaction. He blew himself up just now. He heard the plan at the door, and was very satisfied. Guangjiliang made it. Good morning, everyone. Introduce yourself. Ying Ziyue, leader of the special research team. Welcome you to join the nationwide disaster fight. Ying Ziyue stood up straight, then brought her legs together, and then saluted in a sudden point in the meeting room. The other station masters all looked at Ying Ziyue in surprise, and then stood up and excitedly responded point, because there is still a sentence echoing in their minds. Welcome to join the nationwide disaster countermeasures. Chapter 57. Chill point. Yes, August is full of chills now. The door of the meeting room opened, and a chill came, but everyone in the meeting room stood upright. Ying Ziyue paced, sonorously and powerfully. Dongfang Guangji, food is handed over to you. Ying Ziyue spoke, and General Warfare Liu Dahai nodded excitedly. Leaders, rest assured that the northern grain production base will ensure that the layout of the ecological park and the layout of grain storage and transportation are completed. 15 grain station masters saluted and spoke at the same time. The latter left, leaving the chief of internal affairs to negotiate work. Even if it is cold outside, everyone's heart is extremely excited and fiery. On August 12th, at exactly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the meager official North Yellowstone Grain Terminal, Associate Special Research Institute, the Department of Internal Affairs, the Great Power Project Plan, the Ecological Giant Shed Project next to the Northern Train Station and the Agricultural Reserve Project opened at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The hot topic of discussion, Huangshi County officially released the news in just half an hour of release. The number of likes and comments exceeded 1 million because the world is currently very controversial about food reserves. Dabaozi, it started. Agricultural reserves, ecological greenhouses, behaved. Look at my country's reserves. What is the underground distribution of grain in the West? My country has directly started super greenhouse reserves. This comparison is simply crushing. Alistair, all I can say is that it's amazing. Now looking at the underground defense station in the West, and then watching the current ecological greenhouse open, it is really a kind of enjoyment. The agricultural reserve is mighty. Crossing the Yellow River in black. You said that, if the disaster really comes, according to our current construction, what will it be like? What is the East, and what is the West like? There are a lot of comments on topics on the internet. At 4:30 in the afternoon, it was the sky now entering the evening. The sky began to dim, and the street lights were on. Here is the point of dispute on the internet, and that is the Northern Train Station. At this moment, a black red flag special car stopped in front of the train station, opened the door. Ying Ziyue almost looked up at the train station. As the largest train station in the north, this train station has to bear too many uses. For the transportation of food, vegetables, and meat nationwide, 10 million train stations are currently building a skeleton. This is a steel reinforced skeleton structure, similar to Egypt. The appearance of the Philippine Iron Tower is 3 times the height of the Iron Tower, and it covers an area of several hundred times. The steel frame steel structure of the train station comes from a perfect mechanical bird's nest structure. Standing here, from the naked eye, the first glance is a huge steel frame with a height of 100 meters. Nearly 300,000 workers are working, and 300 tower cranes are transporting various materials back and forth. There are unseen bulldozers around, and excavators are digging the ground near the train station, which is reclaiming the foundation for the ecological greenhouse. The order was given at noon to start the greenhouse project in less than half an hour. This is the current national project strength. Now the road has been blocked, and trucks are still carrying excavators, which is spectacular. The super ecological giant shed is beginning, and the structural skeleton of train stations of tens of millions of scales is designed. Under the cold night that was gradually darkening, Ying Ziyue stood straight and consciously, backed by a great power. He felt extremely relieved. Only by seeing this scene. In person, can he personally feel the strength of the people as the backing and the people's construction together, standing quietly, feeling the sunlight getting shorter and the skin epidermis, feeling the temperature drop of the air in the cold breeze? Ying Ziyue seems to have seen the establishment of 10 million scale train stations, like a giant mountain, becoming the largest shield in the north. Beside it is a huge ecological shed that stretches for thousands of miles, planting the hope of mankind. Chapter 58. Yanqing. 9 o'clock in the morning. The surrounding area of Yulang Villa is already empty. It is close to the outskirts of Yanqing. Demolition is the final step. Villa number 1 has a Chinese style, with the dryness of the Ming dynasty and the vastness of Dakin. Just like the roof of the Qin temple of the film and television drama, majestic and hideous, the villas are side by side, looking extremely majestic in front of the balcony of the villa. Ying Ziyue had complicated eyes. He rushed back from Huangshi County in the north last night. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, and the sky is still dark. The sunshine time was delayed again by about 10 minutes. As for the temperature, stretch out your arms and feel the rapid drop in the epidermal temperature, and feel the coolness sweeping over your body. Now the surface temperature of the land is 2 degrees above zero, which means that it will soon enter 0 degrees. Call. Taking a sigh of relief, in the misty morning, you can see the white mist tumbling, condensing, and drifting away. Ying Ziyue's expression was complicated. He knew that he was about to face the sporadic catastrophe recorded in history. It is only mid-August, but it is already the weather in early winter since July. He has witnessed the country's changes step by step, as they worked hard before the disaster. The last step of the snow country train is also about to start, and mankind should see the greatness of this project. At the same time, the people of the East should also see how spectacular the first project will be after it takes shape. Before making a call, a newsfeed from an external network came out. This is a top secret website news that was obtained by our country's Special Information Department. The news is suspected launch plan for the United States of Rose's nuclear aircraft. Nuclear aircraft, as the name implies, is driven by airborne nuclear reactors. If combat efficiency is excluded, it can be improved for a long time. In this way, nuclear aircraft are a means to avoid certain disasters, and then land after disasters, such as dealing with the world's extinction, floods and major earthquakes. This can be regarded as a method of the Cheeble family, because this kind of cost is high. During the Cold War, the United States of Roses had a nuclear bomber codenamed B=series that contained nuclear reactor power plants. In the same year, the Tsar also appeared a bomber with a nuclear-powered turbine engine and nuclear reactor device. In modern times, Western countries are also considering converting fossil fuels into nuclear materials, which can ensure low consumption flights. Clatter. Ying Ziyue just didn't expect that they actually started this plan. But it was of no use. This time it was not an overwhelming flood or tsunami, nor a terrifying and devastating earthquake, but a continuous whistling blizzard and glacial cold wave. The power engine of a nuclear aircraft will freeze. Even miraculously, the aircraft will freeze in mid-air due to gas transpiration for a few seconds, but it doesn't matter anymore. Ying Ziyue called. The phone connected. It was Zhao Guofeng, the deputy head of the special research team. Call all train engineers to meet at 10 o'clock in the morning. The latter replied. Hanging up the phone, Ying Ziyue once again watched the nation's construction in full swing. What the East has to do is to resist disasters for the people of the whole country, not to build small bases and only choose a part of the powerful to survive. It's about a certain Eastern dignity for thousands of years fight together. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the garrison military area on the outskirts of Yanqing. The National Scientific Research Center. Here is the current Scientific Research Center at this moment. In the Scientific Research Building, all national trains, high-speed rails, trains, and engineers have already arrived. They had checked the train plan in Yanqing before. At 10 o'clock, there were nearly 200 people in the conference room of Novosibirsk University. These 200 people are currently the top train engineers in China. Ying Ziyue sits in the main seat. At this moment, other projects know about Ying Ziyue, the special research team leader, but his identity is kept secret, and no one will talk about it. Everyone, do you have any personal thoughts about the train? Ying Ziyue asked point in the conference room. There was a brief silence, and then an orderly personal introduction. Good morning, team leader Ying. At present, the track train station has been laid. The construction of the train is very simple, but the difficulty is the choice of the core technology. Because the train is a super special train, I recommend the glaciation snow train, which is a multi-energy hybrid. The temperature, insulation, the speed, and the continuous energy are all excellent. A middle-aged man who was listed as the chief engineer of Shanghai Train said with a solemn expression, I suggest using medieval train surgery, with multiple temperature and cold insulation layers of high-speed rail trains, and multiple new energy stations. This is similar to the advanced technology of high-speed rail energy. Jinling Train chief engineer said, do you know the suspension train from Kawasaki country? In the conference room, there were many plans, but Ying Ziyue didn't speak any of them. In the main seat point clatter he stood up, and the sound of footsteps awakened everyone. Crisp and powerful, and extremely decisive, the eve of the glacial cold wave will reach -80 degrees, and the coldest place in the ice glacier country is -70 degrees, if the human body is unprotected. It will die in less than a few minutes at -80 degrees. High-speed rail trains can travel for a certain distance at this temperature. However, in the subsequent blizzard, the temperature will start to drive, and the energy will be interrupted, and there will even be low temperature, resulting in precision. The instrument failed, and the power supply was exhausted. The last section of the train will stop in the wild, waiting for death. No one can rescue a train in a barren mountain, especially in the face of a blizzard. When the glacier comes, it will reach about -Beidou. At this time, trains around the world dare not be outside any wilderness. No electric energy technology has a half effect, because once the train stops, it means it has stopped completely. As for the next glacier, you don't want to know, because it's terrible. The sound of Ying Ziyue's footsteps was very clear, resounding in the hall of more than 200 people. As he paced, he looked at everyone present with piercing eyes, and his expression became serious involuntarily. What do you think of the Institute of Nuclear Energy, the Institute of Mechanics, and the Research Institute? Ying Ziyue said solemnly in the meeting room. The expressions of the others changed a bit. Now they seemed to know the intentions of the young group leader in front of them. The deep intentions. He was talking about unity. The current trains are not only the train engineers can do, but also the nuclear energy, mechanics, physics, scientific research institutes and other departments. This is the normal step of building a miraculous train with the power of the whole country. At this moment, everyone present looked at Ying Ziyue's gazes becoming more and more complicated, and the team leader Ying in front of him had an extremely amazing train prediction and self-disaster simulation. Moreover, he is also excellent in management, distribution, adjustment, and other internal affairs capabilities. From now on, we will unite multiple technical departments to gather all talents. Chapter 59. The western suburbs of Yanjing, known as the important place of the military district underground nuclear fission reaction institute DDDD. At this moment, there was a sharp gathering sound in the reaction chamber. After the sharp gathering sound, all the physics professors who were still in the laboratory, and radiology room gathered in the central hall. In front of the assembly hall, Zhao Guofeng, a brown bear figure, has a thunderous voice. Emergency engineering. The leader of the special research team ordered that all the nuclear fission reaction personnel follow me to the Train Scientific Research Center, Mechanics Academic Center. This is a Mechanics Advanced Academic Center of Yanjing South Ring, which is the center of mechanics for large-scale and super-large projects and machinery. At this moment, there is still a sharp collective sound coming from here. Limping, head of the interior, personally led the team. Emergency engineering. Special research team leader instructed all the professors from the Mechanics Academic Center to go to the Train Research Center, Engineering Template Science Center, Large Engineering Center, Wait, all large-scale high-level academic centers. Bobo professors and PhDs are all gathering. Red flag bulletproof vehicles were in the middle, and off-road vehicles from the military districts opened the road. on both sides, and tanks opened the road in front, which was extremely shocking. At 12 o'clock, the lobby of the Train Scientific Research Center building. There are now close to 500 people, with a total of close to 35 research centers, 300 train engineers, 200 meters, professors of physics, nuclear fission energy research, large-scale mechanics engineering, inspection templates, etc. all arrived. All of them were in suits and leather shoes, or dressed in formal black tang robes, and most of them were middle-aged people over 35 years old. After all, the lowest degree of education present was a postdoctoral fellow. To be precise, they have experienced major mechanical engineering, such as the mechanical mutual support structure of the Petronas Twin Towers, and also experienced the transformation of the second team of physics, and the transition from train to magnetic levitation. They are a real group of post-70s to post-90s. The pillar of the elite professors, in the center of the hall, Ying Ziyue is still wearing a black military uniform, standing upright. Just now, Zhao Guofeng talked about the train project to these new teams, and now everyone is waiting for the special research team leader to speak. The first energy must use nuclear energy. As long as the nuclear energy device can ensure that the train will continue to gallop in the wind and snow, and continue to gallop in the cold wave, it can guarantee the continuous gallop of the cold wind and staring at the blizzard. The second is to adopt ultra-temperature insulating coating materials, adopt high-foamed glass, adopt polystyrene particles, high-temperature insulation board, a total of nearly 7 layers of material insulation layer, and then equip the normal steel hard layer on the outside of the train, and also have insulation heating runs in every carriage to ensure normal heating. The third is the style, appearance and size of the train. The track is 120 meters wide. It adopts a fusion style of 5 tracks, including electric suspension tracks in some areas, so the width of the train is 100 meters. At 15 meters, you can imagine a large-scale train moving forward as a building, material storage, personnel transportation, and so on. The train adopts a multi-mechanical decentralized structure to disperse the mechanical pressure. Fourth, at the center of the high platform, Ying Ziyue talked about the directions of 5 trains. From the driving energy, the temperature insulation layer, the train shell, the mechanics dispersion, and the load level all carried out the planning template. In the first position, an old train designer from Jinling couldn't help but stand up, and his voice solemnly said, "Leader Ying, this is completely impossible to achieve. Is this a high-speed train? This is a brand new train. A brand new mechanical structure." The moment the old man stood up, Ying Ziyue looked at everyone present. Boom. The 30 staff of the first Nuclear Fission Reaction Institute, and the old professor headed by the old professor solemnly said, "We can drive nuclear energy. My country has been studying nuclear energy for nearly 50 years. Now nuclear power drive is not a difficult task." Boom. Second, all 20 professors from the Yanjing Semi-Underground Temperature Insulation Research Institute also stood up, and the leading female professor also solemnly said, "Ensure the completion of the train temperature insulation work. We are conducting a new decomposition test on polyphenol particles." The third is the center of mechanical structure. Guaranteed completion, mechanical decentralized design. The fourth, train architectural design. All the engineers stood up and said in unison, "Guaranteed to complete the design of the train." At this moment, the old professor who said it was impossible before smiled bitterly. He designed the train, and his thinking is outdated after all. Now he looks at the divisions of the tasks and realizes that the power will be so powerful when combined. Clatter point clatter in the center of the podium. Ying Ziyue has strong footsteps and firm voice. "Everyone, the train project has been decided, and the train construction is extremely fast, because in the formwork design, the carriage section processing project is extremely fast, and the total project can be completed within 20 days, as for now." Ying Ziyue finished speaking sternly and solemnly, and then saluted. Then he stood up and looked at the crowd, then bowed slightly, the sound of thunder resounding throughout the audience. Hope that we can fight against disasters and protect the great country together. Boom. The professors all bowed slightly at the same time and shouted in unison, "Fight against disasters and protect the big country." Chapter 60. August 14th. Since yesterday, the sunshine time has been delayed from 9 o'clock to 9:10. The Global Meteorological Institute once again issued an disaster warning to the world. On this morning, for the West, they saw too much Eastern news, the Eastern agroecological greenhouses, train stations, and the disappearance of the National Scientific Research Institute, to prepare for a certain plan, etc., have caused the West to fall into continuous discussions. At 9:10. It is located at the number 1 middle school in southern Ziyue. At this moment, on the middle school playground, a group of high school students have just finished running. Except for high school students, junior high school students, and elementary school students to study, college students must always wait for the official call to hear. These high school students often watch the news. As people in the East, they are proud to watch the news in the East every day. Turn on the news. Now the news has changed. Twitter and YouTube have lifted access restrictions. Twitter Western Underground Nuclear Defense Station, with defense against nuclear, defense against poisonous gas, defense against extreme heat, extreme cold, defense against some unknown crisis. At the same time, the official standard will be equipped with home appliances, residences, underground plant areas, and then connected rise to form a traffic trench. This will be a good nuclear defense station, and also a perfect infrastructure underground structure in the world. This is an underground store from the official introduction of the West. Because of the introduction of this underground reserve, the Western people began to show off proudly. Before they were shocked by the agricultural food of the East, now they proudly display the underground reserves to show off the power of Western infrastructure. On the side of the football field, 4 or 5 high school male students were looking at their mobile phones. The headed Ziyue couldn't help but gritted his teeth. They are food reserves that can't be better than infrastructure projects. After Ziyue spoke, the other students looked around complicatedly. Even in school, large-scale projects are breaking ground all around. Demolition by the whole people is not to say that this is real blasting, demolition, transportation, and laying of foundations. The demolition project alone is full of shock. The West is still showing underground nuclear shelters. Look at the messages of the Western people. A boy with freckles frowned. After opening the message, several students became more and more complicated. First of all, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord for helping us. Let the world see the magnificent underground nuclear defense station. The project of the United States of Roses will surprise the world. Thank you, Congressman, for leaving a huge infrastructure project in the West. Seeing this, several students looked strange. Is this ignoring the infrastructure of the East? Is this ignoring our infrastructure power? The freckled boy said, I'd like to ask the director of the Southern Iron and Steel plant. You go to like, and then send to other groups to like. Let the official tell the world. What is Oriental infrastructure? Ziyue spoke. The others nodded in response. Soon, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, a boy named Ziyue riposted what the underground defense said in the West. And by the way, 8 contacted the director of the steel plant, also Lieutenant General Steel Plant Director Lee Mansan. Can directly tell us the first step in my country's infrastructure construction. Under this riposting and commenting, the popularity is increasing, and many netizens are curious to like it. They are also very much looking forward to the answer from the official infrastructure steel reserve. At 10:30, the steel plant made a sound. Meagerly Mansan, director of the iron and steel plant, well, remember to take a look at the attached pictures. First, we prepared enough steel and construction materials for the national infrastructure. In addition, we received the first step from the Special Research Institute, but the first step was very shocking. Now, that is, the periphery of every city will be surrounded by a giant brick and steel wall. Picture a square city with 1,000,000 square meters, surrounded by a giant wall surrounding the city. After the announcement, on the playground of Ziyue Middle School, the 4 high school students all looked at each other, and then all stared blankly at the project in the picture. Every city is guarded by a black wall made of giant masonry and steel, and the wall still has super tech mottled luster. Is this The first step in building a city, just the outer wall is so terrifying. In the guarding city, just the walls are stalwart projects. On the playground, several high school students couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. As for the internet, there are more explosions. A wall covering the city can protect against known disasters and floods, as well as some unknown disasters at this moment. On Western Twitter, hot search first. The first step of Oriental infrastructure. Every city is equipped with a giant wall. With this enthusiasm, Western netizens are complicated. The second hot search now is Western underground perfect infrastructure. At this moment, under this hot search, the comments are extremely complicated. Jack, fake. What's more of this horse riding? Every city in the East has to build this city wall. Is this an epic city wall to protect the country? Is God making a movie? ARSK, a city wall is so big. What is the overall infrastructure? Are there countless giant cities? ALTXEE, fake squid. I have a feeling that the layout of this country is not to defend against disasters at all. It is to fight against disasters. Chapter 61. At 12 o'clock in the morning on the 14th, Ying Ziyue was at home. In the living room, he saw the news about the infrastructure controversy, and Ying's father was also watching the news, and it was normal to comment casually. The start of global engineering. Comparison. It is normal. On the table, Yingmu Shandong dishes are delicious and full of fragrance. Outside the window, there was a whining sound, which was the sound of a strong wind, which could be heard on the second floor of the villa. Now, the wind is getting stronger and stronger. Our villa is in the suburbs. Today, Yanjing is about to start construction. Yanjing is the first city to start groundbreaking, followed by other cities. This time, most of the building materials are steel. There are many steam pipes. Ying Mu had a solemn expression, and the current import and export department temporarily became a material distribution department. So Ying Ziyue knew a lot about construction materials. More than that, the city will speed up construction. At present, a total of 1.2 billion migrant workers can be converted, including college students and white-collar workers. Ying Fu said, as the former senior of the real estate bureau. Ying Fu knows the news. More college students and white-collar workers are also transformed into engineering teams. Yingmu couldn't help but exclaimed, students also joined the engineering team. How big is this infrastructure project? White-collar students, national infrastructure. Yingmu was inhaling air conditioning. As the former minister, she could be considered a person who had seen the big scene, but she still couldn't imagine the scene that Yingfu said before her. This was almost a full conversion to a migrant worker, and began a major infrastructure construction project. How big is this project, let alone contemporary? There has never been such a large-scale project in history. Father Ying looked at the whirring wind outside the window with a complex expression and proudly said, this time we are the national project. You think it is the Western Underground Defense Station. We are going to build a huge city upright that can withstand disasters, so we'll pay a big project. What do you say at midnight? Father Ying looked at Ying Ziyue, who nodded obediently. After eating, Ying Ziyue went out, and Zhao Guofeng had been waiting for a long time at the gate of the community. Without driving this time, the two stood in front of the entrance bridge of Yanjing, watching the scene in front of them. It is noon. But the cold wind is bleak. The temperature is almost below zero. The wind is very loud, but the sound of trucks is louder than the wind in front of us. And there are trains transporting steel before. There is also a railway track next to it. The railway track was not demolished during the civilization period, and the steel from the southern steel mill is still being transported temporarily. The truck is pulling the black iron block, and there are blocks of steam and gas pipe channels to transport them into the city. Standing on this bridge, you can see that a large piece of foundation is completed. The building has 6 floors this time, which is super thick, 3 times the normal wall thickness. At the same time, 4 layers of temperature insulation have been added. After the building is completed, steam pipes will be installed on the periphery and installed in the room. Floor heating and heating inshore heating. Zhao Guofeng reported on the construction plan of the current building. Now the building has begun construction, but it is very different from the civilization period. The building is now more generous and looks extremely majestic, and the walls have added layers of partitions. thermosphere point in every city, buildings for residents to live in began. Leader eyeing, what will Yanjing City look like when it takes shape? Now the building construction has started. Zhao Guofeng asked. He was very curious. After all, he is now seeing the new construction of this city with his own eyes. The million-scale train station will be the first wave of shields, and the surrounding walls of Yanjing City will be the second shields. The walls will be equipped with various temperature insulation devices. As for the city, based on mechanical steam, black technology will isolate the temperature. With the aid of materials, it will be more like a magical city after it is really built, especially with a snowstorm standing upright. Ying Ziyue said, let's start. Let's all start. Let this continent enter the last ocean of infrastructure. Stretching his hands and embracing the sky, Ying Ziyue exhales long. His voice is clear, floating beside the bridge. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62. Before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Yanjing was still busy. Zhao Guofeng drove Ying Ziyue to the southern factory and began to arrange the mechanical steel project. It was 4 o'clock exactly, and the sunshine time was 5 o'clock. The sky was dark, but it was already evening. The Hanqi car parked in the southern province of Zhejiang Iron and Steel, the largest province of the factory. As a major province for steel and apparel development, Dagon County, Zhejiang Iron and Steel Province is the largest import and export crude steel trading center and the largest crude steel production base point. We must know that there are 3 largest in my country, the largest in agriculture, the largest in infrastructure development, and the largest in industrial steel. For 20 consecutive years, the crude steel production in the East has ranked first in the world. At 41010, Dagon County's main steel plant, there are vehicles parked here at this moment. Many reporters from various parties come to interview, and many reporters are carrying out filming and promotion. Black crude steel on side-by-side wagons relying on the press card. Ying Ziyue, Zhao Guofeng and the others walked in as reporters. They just stood outside, more than 20 reporters, and then watched a group of reporters filming. Point among them, the factory director is a black-faced brawny. In front of him is the headline reporter. At this moment, the headline reporter is holding a notebook and conducting a live interview. This is a domestic live broadcast, but because there are no network restrictions, foreign netizens can also post on Twitter. See the live broadcast point at the moment. The live broadcast room is broadcasting the steel mill picture. The reporter who started the live broadcast is a headline female reporter. She took the microphone and asked in a sweet voice, "Hello, Director Lee. Today you have spoken to the domestic infrastructure and at the same time express. Now that we have the reserves of crude steel in our country, can you reveal the plan for crude steel for the whole country?" The headline female reporter asked, blinking a pair of shining beautiful eyes. Other reporters also raised their microphones one after another. This topic is very controversial in the world. Clatter taking a step forward. Lee Mansan's face skin is a little wrinkled due to the inspection of crude steel all the year round, coupled with a burly, standard black-faced man. He patted his chest and said proudly, "I can tell you a little bit. Crude steel. It is for transportation across the country." After Lee Mansan finished speaking, in the bullet screen, some foreign netizens who watched the live broadcast have left messages. Thomas. First of all, it's not that I doubt that Eastern crude steel is shipped all over the country, but your crude steel reserves are not enough, or you have some misunderstandings about the crude steel consumption and infrastructure mechanics. I don't know what is calculated consumption of steel. Thomas, an architecture student from the United States of Roses. I just want to use an Oriental idiom to describe it. Whimsical. Fran. I support Thomas' view. You probably don't understand infrastructure. Lee Mansan, the director of the steel plant, looked at the comments and didn't say much. He just looked at the camera, then walked to a huge closed warehouse door in front of him and opened the door directly. Boom. When the warehouse door opened, it was black at first glance, and the setting sun shining in, only to see neatly stacked layers of crude steel. Each piece is like a huge crude steel. 2 meters long, very huge. Just this, the warehouse already has 20 tons of crude steel. Then there is the second one. Right next to this warehouse. Boom. The warehouse door opened, and the number 2 warehouse was purified number 2 stainless steel, exuding a textured black steel luster. This warehouse is extremely large, similar to a factory shed, with a steel reserve of about 50 tons. Boom. Then the third one, the fourth, then the fifth one stopped. Factory director Lee Man-san held his hand. He stood in front of the camera and pointed to the steel warehouse behind, which was out of sight. Mr. Thomas of Western Infrastructure, are these enough? These are not right enough. It doesn't matter. Lee Man-san is very resolute. He pointed to the back, pointed to the county seat, and then looked at the camera with an extremely proud expression. In Dagon County, almost 1/3 of the steel factories, the rest are steel reserve factories. People in this county work in steel factories. I suggest you don't even think about storage warehouses like this one. In addition, 10 years ago until now, my country's steel production is the first. Import and export first. Do you know how much it is? Close to 800 million tons. If mountains can be built, we can probably build several giant mountains. Cool. After taking a breath, Lee Man-san smiled proudly, and he looked at the barrage again. Now the barrage has changed directly. The former Western Infrastructure student Thomas left the live broadcast room and seemed to be hit. As for the current barrage, they are all shocked by factory director Lee Man-san's comments. Black dog, black is not black, it is too cruel. The remarks not only reveal the background of my country's industrial reserves, but also let Western Infrastructure know what is the reserve of cards. Piglet is not white, nothing else. The steel reserves are mighty. At the outermost periphery, Ying Ziyue and Guofeng took a look, and both of them showed satisfied smiles. Only before the disaster can we see the confidence, admiration, and wonder of every citizen, high-level person. For large-scale projects, only before the disaster can a major country's whole card reserve plan be tested. Now, the east is vividly revealed. Time passed quickly. 45 minutes. The sky began to darken, and the reporters were all leaving the scene. Because as the sky fell, the temperature began to drop. The howling cold wind is coming soon. But inside this large factory, the deafening mechanical sound is louder than the cold wind. Ying Ziyue also returned to the car. Through the light under the street lights, he could see the huge size of this steel factory. It has the largest steel output for 10 consecutive years. This factory covers almost half of the land in Dagon County. Workers off work. It was like a torrent, and there was even a traffic jam. Lieutenant Colonel Ziyue, make arrangements, see the factory director, and arrange the next infrastructure projects. Ying Ziyue said. The latter decisively began to call. Then it was 5:30, and the sky was completely dark, and the off-duty team hadn't finished yet, showing how big the factory was. Chapter 63. It's exactly 6 o'clock. Conference room of Dagon County Iron and Steel Plant. The atmosphere is solemn, silent, solemn, and solemn. This is the conference room of the main factory area. There are 80 branch factory directors. Most of them are barely middle-aged people. Everyone has a teacup in front of them. On the wall are the banners of win glory for the country and steel #1 in successive years. Next to the main seat sits the head of the factory, Lee Man-san, a black-faced brawny man. Boom. He stood up and then looked at the subject with restraint. A young man with a tall stature, wearing a specific black military uniform and short black hair, looks refined and piercing, and has a strong aura. Behind him stands Guofeng, who is in the figure of a brown bear. Ying Ziyue, leader of the special research team. Good evening everyone. Ying Ziyue spoke, and there was a burst of exclamation in the quiet meeting room. Some unbelievable sounds. We must know that the national project started from the Special Research Institute. In the eyes of the West, the leader of the Special Research Institute is an angry lion, an extremely tough-looking person. Looks handsome, with extraordinary bearing. Everyone, the West is preparing some kind of means to resist disasters. They have prepared nuclear-powered fighter jets. It is said that they can carry some cheebles to escape the disaster. I also prepared what is said to be an amazing underground nuclear defense station, as well as the Noah's Ark known as Hangzhou. There are small steel bunkers waiting. They are claiming that this is the perfect infrastructure power in the West Clatter. As Ying Ziyue spoke, she paced crisply, calmly, and simply point. A pair of clear eyes sharpened at this moment, and he was talking about the West eloquently. So our infrastructure strength. Once my country's engineering infrastructure is fully started, can steel be supplied? In the end, Ying Ziyue's voice suddenly increased, and the atmosphere was quiet. The report guarantees the completion of the supply of steel. Since 10 years, my country's steel has entered a strategic reserve. At the same time, since decades ago, my country has expanded its industrial production to ensure that it can be carried out in each city. Supply. At the same time, the whole South can simultaneously develop large steel plants to support the infrastructure construction of major countries. After the head of the station Li Mansan spoke, the directors of the brawny men of the other branch factories all stood up straight and then shouted, "No problem. The South prepares close to 200 million workers, and it can transform 100 million workers to carry out a large number of branch production work in the southern iron and steel plant." A bald factory manager patted his chest. Ensure the completion of steel transportation in each city. Ensure the completion of the steel scale and shape forging of each city. And support the infrastructure of major countries. All the staff are talking. Their voices are exhilarating. Clatter. Ying Ziyue took out the engineering action book from the package, then bowed slightly to the factory director present, and then stood upright. Next, Zhao Guofeng arranged the project, and then the two left at 10 o'clock, and returned to Yanjing. At this moment, at 10 o'clock, the outside was pitch black like ink, and the sky was howling cold and rustling. In the meeting room, everyone trembled excitedly, looking at the title of this file bag excitedly. The title alone is enough to make people tremble. The steel plan for the city of mechanical steam technology is as follows: machinery, steel mainly, special materials for matching. Steam, prevention plan for unknown disasters, standard structure of magic city. Technology, unknown, unknown. 3 major aspects directly excited the 80 factory directors present. What is the city of mechanical steam? I only heard about it during Victory's period, but the first step of this plan is that the machine surpass that of the steam mechanical era. The bald head factory director curiously asked, "Don't ask too much, it must be a super big city anyway." The project is about to start. Tomorrow, each factory manager will start to arrange the steel parameters according to the project report, and the standard amount of construction steel must be supplied to each city during the project time. The factory director Li Mansan stood upright, his eyes were sharp and his voice was loud. Receive. Subsequently, all the factory directors responded one after another. The long dark night, the cold wind is bleak. Who would have thought that it was only mid-August? It was sweltering and fiery last month, and the cold is coming this month. The weather trend, the sunshine environment, and large-scale disasters, like the wheels of a giant rolling over the planet, have begun. The plate level rolling. It's just that under the pressure of this forum, some people chose underground defense to avoid, some people chose to fly to avoid, and some people chose to fight against the whole country. Chapter 64. August 15th. Starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, the second steel-making branch of Dagang Iron and Steel, which is the foundry workshop. The molten iron from the iron smelting plant will be sent, and then smelted into steel, and then cast into various shapes, then cut, cooled, and basically finished. Now, in front of the foundry, there are engineering trucks for transporting molten iron parked. Workers on the morning shift are checking today's engineering bills, and then they find that the head of the branch factory is also there. Today's engineering bill must be in strict accordance with the parameter requirements, and it must be perfect, and 100% guarantee the material of the finished steel. The bald head factory manager looked solemn, and then he went to other factories to continue making arrangements. More than a dozen foundry workers were curiously holding the engineering bill. The leader was a 40-year-old master, flat-headed oldly, who was stunned when he got the engineering bill. Then the other workers also looked at the project sheet one after another, and then they were all stunned. No/1, 20 meters wide, 20 meters of huge thick steel and plates, with the ability to defend against low temperature, impact, and other isolation. The number of single branch plants is x 20,000. Hey, huge steel and plates. This is only used when building outposts on the border. It is a large defensive solid material. To put it bluntly, two steel plates are merged with some materials added in between, either for sound insulation or temperature insulation, and shock waves. One branch factory will produce 20,000 pieces. Good luck. The whole branch factory is only a few hundred in Nagan County. In addition to the branch factories that are now rapidly opening, this scale is going to be shipped to the whole country. Master Li couldn't help exclaiming, and the other casting masters also looked surprised, because the other engineering orders became more and more terrifying. No/2 huge 10x10 surrounding high quality steel steam pipes. The number scale is x 20,000. The formed steam pipe with high quality steel as a whole can not only radiate extreme heat temperature, but also ensure great impact resistance, because this kind of hot rolled steel plate and steel strip above the crystallization temperature can be used. Master Li, what is this going to do? The casting workshop needs a large steam channel pipe with a scale of 20,000. This plan is too big, with complex expressions. Several foundry workers couldn't help exclaiming, "Keep watching." A younger brawny worker continued to speak. No/3 city wall style steel melting plate with a carrier of spiral steel structure on the periphery. No/4 huge city frame structure steel bar 100 meters long and 5 meters wide. It is a special structure carrier. The total number of projects involved was as high as 50. The foundry workers received this kind of plastic steel request for the first time. According to this formation, the outer wall is made of steel and special materials. The wall is also equipped with a special steel structure, which seems to be to resist any impact. Otherwise, this kind of wall can even be carried by tank shells. Master Li couldn't help but smile. Not only that, but also the giant steel bars in the city. This kind of carrier is stronger. I have made a budget and can probably withstand tons of pressure, like a city structure made of mechanical steel. A worker said. They couldn't help thinking of the current demolitions of the whole people, the foundations of the whole people, the trains to be built neatly, and the other stalwart projects. Every worker couldn't help but look excited. Don't even think about it, let's do it. Master Li spoke. He turned on the large casting machine. With the sound of high steam temperature, the factory was busy. Since August 15th, the loud and busy sound has continued. The other foundry branches and rolling steel plants have all started new projects. Trucks transporting steel bars and iron plates went all over the country and began to transport batches of materials. In terms of meagerness, now the first hot search directly becomes steel transportation nationwide. Infrastructure machinery major project is coming. Other news, etc. are also news of this kind. The national project, the big pot meal, the national infrastructure. You can really feel this kind of pride. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, in front of the construction site of the Yanjing Million train station. Due to sunshine, the lunch time was changed to 2 o'clock. Before the construction site, the current Million train station has been basically completed, and only the final decoration and insulation treatment are left. We must know that this is a huge project that lasts for a month and lasts for nearly 3 million jobs every night. Overtime and overtime. Now the workers eat food in several batches, eating the big pot of rice, and the scene of millions of people eating the big pot of rice is extremely spectacular. As for the train station in front of it, it is designed with a triangular support structure, like a giant mountain. It is 100 meters high to the naked eye, but its wide area has reached the width of 30 districts. There are one by one in the train station. Giant conveyor belts and elevator belts are used to transport people and materials. In short, this train station protects Yanjing in the form of stalwart mountains and rivers, which can withstand the impact of disasters from Haitian Pass and other disasters, as well as the impact of the cold wave soon after. As for the train exit checkpoints on the train hill are like giant iron gates. The iron gates can record the temperature and reduce the temperature at any time. As for the train track 100 meters wide, it is grey and black, and it looks like a real one at first glance. Like a winding dragon, it stretches forward and is extremely magnificent. Ying Ziyue watched greedily and satisfiedly, while Zhao Guofeng watched excitedly. As for those workers, they are proud to look at this building, which has been listed as the #1 train station in the world. If it hasn't taken shape now, this is only the first step in the train station. After the next renovation is completed and the train appears, it will be a scene that can be called epic shock. Chapter 65. Night point at 5 o'clock. The world was plunged into the ultimate night point. The Sunshine Time Global Meteorological Institute explained that the first is that the Earth enters a dense galaxy. The second is that carbon dioxide etc. obscure the 5 atmospheres. But with the current temperature change from 40 degrees above zero to 1 degree above zero, even ordinary people know that some kind of disaster may really occur, especially now that countries all over the world are preparing some kind of infrastructure era defense projects. This has made the global atmosphere blurred and complicated, and the atmosphere has become noisy. The city center of Yale, the United States of Roses at 5:30. There is an infrastructure center with a history of 200 years. This is a joint infrastructure center between the government and the people. It mainly designs famous Western miraculous projects. This center is called Roll God Infrastructure Building, side by side with the Eagle Country Infrastructure Association point at this moment. There is a wide conference room on the 3rd floor of the Roshan Infrastructure Building point. There are 2 governors here, 2 senior officials from the National Security Bureau, and the remaining 15 people are talented infrastructure designers. At the moment, they are watching a specially produced video point. This is the engineering data obtained by the National Security Bureau from the East, and then they have been summarized. Start playing. The National Security Bureau's bearded man said. He has a big beard and a burly figure point as the playback starts. The projection screen appears. The first is the picture of laying the track intermittently from a certain audio and video shot by the public point. Great video shot by the whole people point. Then came the train station shooting. The 3 major train stations started a huge plan point. Then came the ecological greenhouse. This is a real giant greenhouse. Just by looking at this greenhouse, you can feel the power of agricultural reserves. Almost all vegetable plots in the northern cities that produce vegetables are covered with greenhouses, surrounded by the ocean and the greenhouse point. Then the steel is transported and demolished nationwide point. This scene is even more shocking. Buildings are being blasted and then torn down. Trucks and excavators are moving at high speed. Private cars are stopped on the road. Only trucks and armored vehicles are left. Traffic police on highways maintain order, which shows a grandeur of the scale point. Click point. The screen stops. The beard said solemnly, "Mister, you are all the top infrastructure design professors in the West. The next scene is the most important one, and that is for you to simulate what is the infrastructure project in the East." The bearded man spoke, and then the scene played again. Point. This time the playback is even more shocking, and it is completely different from the previous picture. Point. Trucks transport huge pipelines, which are the Victorian-style pipelines of urban infrastructure, which seem rough, but have an extremely high-tech texture. Point. Then there are the 100-meter-long steel bars transported by the extended truck, which seems to be for the carrier of large-scale engineering structures. Click point. The screen stopped, and the expressions of every infrastructure professor in the conference room changed. Point. Infrastructure Professor Marco frowned. He is the president of this infrastructure center. Rocco, Alice, Rick, Elephant, start the infrastructure simulation. After Marco spoke, the other infrastructure professors in the conference room started to draw 3D on the computer, and then printed. Point. One started to simulate the construction project, and the other started to simulate the engineering drawing. Point. In less than half an hour, a black and white first draft appeared. Point. The sketch picture can be called a miracle. Point. This is a huge triangle city. The structure is mostly machinery and steel, iron blocks, iron sheets, steam pipes. Magical buildings have abnormal pressure bearing capacity. Point. This is just a preliminary structural sketch, but even so, the governor and the staff of the National Security Bureau were still pale. They couldn't believe that this is the case with the Eastern Infrastructure Construction Association. The pyramid was built for hundreds of years in history. The Great Wall has been built for decades. It takes 1 year from the start of construction to the completion of our Kingdom Tower. How long will the Eastern train in the giant city last? Fact. Can they really complete this kind of project? The beard from the National Security Bureau couldn't help but look horrified. Chapter 66. Long nights are more. Point. Since August 15th, humans can no longer see the moon clearly with the naked eye, and can only use astronomical telescopes. This is the first change in dense galaxies. The sunshine time becomes shorter again. Point. It was light at 9:30 in the morning. and it was dark at 4:30 in the evening, and the darkness lasted for 15 hours. The temperature began to drop by 0.5 per day point at the same time. The cold wind, the lower temperature is faster at 9 o'clock in the morning. In front of the balcony of Yanjing Yulang Villa, Ying Ziyue stood quietly, and the old-fashioned radio left by his father was ringing. On August 15th, the Northern Glacier Riles Meteorological Bureau announced that humans may no longer be able to see the moon with the naked eye. Dense galaxies will obscure the moon, but it will not affect the turnover of moonlight. On August 16th, 3 volcanoes with a dangerous level of S in mass state, the western United States of Roses, caused 270,000 to leave mass state, and the number of missing exceeded 5,000. This is the largest volcanic eruption in the history of the Rose State. On August 17th, a magnitude 8.1 earthquake broke out again on the eastern plateau, but the relevant urban residents have been demolished, and there are no casualties for the time being. On August 18th, 28 tsunamis of medium or above scale occurred in 17 coastal countries around the world, causing a total of 750,000 people to leave the coastal areas and hundreds of thousands of missing people plus clatter. The phone lights up and the time is displayed. Yeah, August 19th, 9:15 in the morning. The sky is now dark. It belongs to the early morning. The sunshine has not yet arrived. It is only 9:30, and the sky is now dark. Point clatter. Opening the window, a chill came, and the howling wind raged, blowing straight towards every area. Call, call, call. Ying Ziyue stood, sending text messages one after another on the phone. The train is designed and can be tested at any time. National Research Center. Track laying completed. National Track Laying Center. The train station is built and the decoration is finished. Ziyue Yan, chief engineer of the train station, when making a call. The caller was Zhao Guofeng. Let's get started. I have prepared for nearly 2 months, nearly 40 million railway workers, spent nearly a million heavy trucks, and approached thousands of train designers day and night. Design plans. Everything is just for this moment. Ying Ziyue stood. He spoke with a solemn voice. That's right. Now that the Snow Country train is planned, it's time to show the people, and then let the people know what the Snow Country train is. Receive. On the other end of the phone, Zhao Guofeng's voice was solemn. 10 o'clock in the morning. Point from the headlines. A Hudinghida news platform. A live broadcast room officially designated as a special research institute was placed. On the top point, the title of the live broadcast room is "The construction of the Great Power Train is completed. All people are welcome to watch it." At this moment, in the live broadcast room, the picture has not yet appeared, but piles of barrage have appeared. Oh my god, it really happened. The 50-day project is finally coming out. Great Country Train. I just want to know what level of technology this train has reached, nothing else. This is the combined power of 40 million railway workers. It can be said that it has gathered all the strength of our country just to build this kind of train. Come out quickly, urged by the cheers of the people. The barrage is increasing frantically. Then the screen turned on. The first glance is the image of the satellite, the national orbital image taken by the satellite before point boom. The first glance is from the orbit of Yanjing. The 120-meter wide gray-black orbit is like a black giant dragon. It starts to meander from Yanjing and then arrives at Haitian Pass. There is yellow sand whistling, but the track continued to be laid, and then it reached the Daxing Virgin Forest directly, followed by the suspended track, which is a truly miraculous suspension giant track. Under the suspension is a giant support frame. Then the track continued to spread and directly reach the southern factory area. It was a large river and a huge train track bridge that crossed the sea at any time. This scene was extremely shocking, and then continued to reach the Sichuan, and more mountains and rivers. This is complicated mountain terrain. The track traverses tall buildings, traverses mid-levels, traverses the bustling downtown area, and traverses one by one wilderness area. Then we arrived in the north, and the road was flat, except for a few deep black tunnels, which stretched for 2,000 meters, and were deep and huge. Then the track arrived in the south, and then the south arrived in Yanjing. Spanning more than 20 provinces, hundreds of cities, and thousands of small counties, truly circumventing the country. The screen turned black, and netizens who were still immersed in the shocking screen directly commented crazy. The project of 40 million railway workers took nearly 50 days in total. It can be regarded as the greatest train in history to successfully circumvent the country. In the past Western infrastructure, high-speed rail, etc. countless designers are laughing at them. I was ridiculing and questioning, but now everything is quiet, and the voice is completely quiet. Long live the Iron Army, long live the Iron Army. This is the creation of a miracle in human history, and a miraculous product. Then the screen changes point boom. When this scene appeared, the live broadcast truly entered an era of excitement. Point this is a train station. Point the first glance is a picture of Yanjing train station written by Ying Ziyue. The stalwart triangular arch structure train station is like a mountain, and the huge iron gates are spectacular to the extreme and great to the limit. There are huge buildings in human history, but any building disappeared in front of this train station, because this train station is also the exit of the train, and the huge size has reached its limit. Moreover, in front of the train station, there are still 2 million infrastructure workers standing in a sea of people. The sea of them has formed a shape, that is, long live the motherland. Second, this is a miraculous northern train station with a scale of tens of millions. The reason it is called a miracle is because next to this train station, there are ecological giant sheds with patches of white clouds. The northern train station is even bigger because it guarantees the transportation of materials and agricultural supplies across the country. So this is a very standard rectangular building, which looks like a super train building with a height of 100 meters and thousands of football fields. The third is the 10 million train station in the south. This is the structure of the bird's nest, because it guarantees industrial transportation. Point after the exhibition of the 3 major train stations was over, the barrage exploded. Oh heaven. Is this really a great project in human history? It is horrible to the limit. There are 3 major train stations. One is the train exit, for maintenance, repair, and out of the station, and the other is the northern agricultural train station that supplies the country. This is a miracle in the history of train learning. This is a total of nearly 20 million infrastructural workers. The infrastructural power of the East can only be felt by witnessing it in person. What is terror and what is despair? Infrastructure miracle. 3 major train stations. The barrage is still frantic, and the people in the East are still in a sea of shock. Point at the same time, the Eagle Country. This is a German restaurant that can be seen everywhere in Spear City. In the restaurant, the TV is amazingly live in the East. The white people in the restaurant are stunned. They all watch the live broadcast in the East. Project Gallery. The train project in the East is finished. It's really finished. They really did it. A young man of Indian blood couldn't help but screamed. His voice was a little bit unbelievable. Not only did it do it, but it truly achieved the miracle number 1. The orbit around the country is the miracle number 1. The 3 major train stations are the number 1 in the world. God, is the East really that united? They are really into this. Impossible train project around the country was completed within a month. A black man with a dirty braid is a little skeptical of his life. He has seen many large-scale projects, but they are all decades of plans. But in front of him, he really witnessed it with his own eyes. An engineering miracle. Point in front of the other dining seats. There were also a few international students who were also staring blankly, their expressions more complicated. What did we miss? An international student smiled bitterly. Point they looked at the tracks and the train stations, only feeling that a great opportunity was far away from them. Point in the other seats, the other white people looked at them and couldn't help but speak. Everyone, you have missed the Oriental Grand Project. Do you know how much we want to go to the East? I once wanted to donate $10 million, but the East does not accept any investment or any entry. There are still people who are willing to invest $50 million to invest directly in poor local areas, but they still refuse. Dongfang now has a quota that can be measured by more than money. A white man smiled bitterly, and he looked at Dongfang video with excitement. By his side, his black friend also smiled bitterly. Yes, there are construction projects all over the world, but I have a hunch that the Eastern project will be the most. The black did not continue to speak, but the meaning was self-evident. Point at this moment, on August 19th, Dongfang made its first official announcement. Point the Snow Country train project is completed. Chapter 67. On the 19th, 11 o'clock in the morning. Supernatural Special Research Institute. Train learning building. On the 4th floor, in the conference room with panoramic floor-to-ceiling windows. The atmosphere at the moment is solemn and solemn. Everyone looked solemn and stood upright. At this moment, the leaders of the infrastructure group, physics group, mechanical group, history group, geography group, and all of them were present. In the middle, stood Ying Ziyue. The walls of the floor-to-ceiling windows carry sunlight and projections. Snow Country Train Trial Plan. Report. Zhao Guofeng entered the door and then saluted. Speak. Ying Ziyue said, Leader Ying, from meteorology, from the Jinling Earthquake Center, plus your previous calculations, the Snow Country train is scheduled to run at 4 p.m., but 5 minutes later, passing through Haitian Pass from Yanjing train station will encounter sandstorms, and affected by the 5 magnitude earthquake zone on the plateau. There will be a wave of flooding in the local reservoir. Will the train plan stop? Zhao Guofeng spoke, and the expressions of the team leaders present changed a little. Earthquakes are small-scale seismic belts with little radiation, but they are a fatal blow to normal high-speed railways and trains, and they are temporarily uncertain about trains, said Chen Guo, head of geography. The reservoir is a Haitian reservoir. The flood is caused by geographical reasons. It is about 4 or 5 meters high. For the high-speed rail, this kind of flood will completely stop the high-speed rail, but it is unknown for the giant train, but it is recommended not to catch the flood. Pass by. Mabo, the head of the physics group, said, the sandstorm comes from an uninhabited area on the north side of Haitian Pass. The wind speed is at level 7 and the wind speed is minus 17.1 m/s. This is equivalent to a high-speed car with a wind pressure of 120.8-182.8 par. This wind speed is prohibited by high-speed railways. Fishing boats know the airplane is forbidden to descend. I suggest that the wind speed of the train should be reduced. The meteorological team leader said. In the most dominant position, Ying Ziyue carried her hands on her back, facing the crowd. Her eyes were cold and clear. Need not. We have been preparing for 2 months, and the 40 million Iron Army has worked hard, just for this giant Snow Country train, so that 2 billion people will witness with their own eyes and witness the train moving forward at dawn before the disaster. Zhao Guofeng. Ying Ziyue spoke, his voice always exaggerated proudly, and the team leader present couldn't help but get excited. Here, the brown bear said the latter. An official announcement is issued that the train will start trial operation at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Ying Ziyue spoke, yes, at 11:30 in the morning. Mega first. The big country train is under the attention of the whole people at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and a trial run. Picture, a huge orbit taken by a satellite. Half an hour after the release, direct hot search, comment, like, repost, and quickly break 1 million, directly breaking 10 million within an hour. Top hot reviews. Woohoo, it's started, it's finally started. Our country has prepared a project for so long, which has consumed the greatest strength of the Iron Army, and it is finally about to begin. This is an era worth remembering in history. Financial resources are rolling. Yes, that is, for now. Dongfang is also the first time to announce the greatness of the train project, how far the train project has reached. I love you, great country. Beozipu, nothing else. Always waiting. Always listen to the instructions of the great powers. In the morning, all the news from the east were discussing trains at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Western meteorology spoke out. On Twitter, the oil pipe made a sound. Now the global meteorological bureaus are extremely powerful, and they have great experience in detecting earthquakes, tsunamis, and sandstorms. Multiple meteorological bureaus around the world. Before duo meteorological bureaus detection, the eastern train arrived at Haitian Pass in 5 minutes later at 4 p.m., where it will encounter 4-meter high floods, 7-level sandstorms, and 5-level its seismic belts. After the West released its forecast of meteorological disasters, the attitude of Western netizens is more like expectation. Aston, what will Dongfang do this time? Do they drive trains in disasters? Our makers, are they so confident in trains? They will drive trains following disasters? Alcibus, the 2-month train project in the east has been completed, but I don't believe that their trains can travel in floods, squalls, and earthquakes. Human technology can't reach it, and Eastern technology can't reach it. This is not a mockery or a mockery, but a fact that is demonstrated in contemporary times. Hugh Sano, I can only say that I wish the Eastern trains good luck. Point at this moment, the whole people are very controversial. Point from morning to afternoon, there are all kinds of controversies on Twitter, YouTube, and other meager forums. There is only one topic, and that is Snow Country Train. It's 3:45 in the afternoon. Point the last live broadcast room appeared on Mega. The title is Train Trial. In the live broadcast, it was the orbital picture of Haitian Pass. Obviously there will be a trial run of live broadcast trains in the future, but at this moment, the presence of the live broadcast room has exceeded hundreds of millions of people. If it is not maintained by technicians, the live broadcast room will directly collapse, because this is a global viewing point. In the live broadcast room, the barrage was already frantically brushing. It's about to start. It's about to begin. Fucking so excited. Upstairs is right. It is estimated that foreigners are also watching the live broadcast of the train trial. I can only say that I'm very excited now, waiting for the train. There are still more than 10 minutes. Point there are hundreds of millions of netizens waiting in the live broadcast room. Point at this moment, it is opposite to Haitian Pass. Haitian Pass is surrounded by mountains and has a reservoir to the north. At this moment, Ying Ziyue, Zhao Guofeng, and the leaders of the Special Research Institute are all standing on the boulder hillside. They are also quietly waiting for the next Snow Country train. Point everyone's eyes have the luster of hope, and everyone clenched their arms in excitement. Point as for Ying Ziyue, she looked around excitedly. This time, the Snow Country train will decide the first step to fight against the disaster. Time is passing fast. 3 to 50. 3 to 55. It's 3:59. At this moment, at the Yanjing train station, there was a whistle that resounded throughout the city. Buzzing, buzzing. The Snow Country train is out. Chapter 68. It's on the shelves. Don't ask the reader who saw the last one to continue reading it. Just ask for the first order. Also about absolute zero. It is not the absolute zero of cognition, but when the cold wave comes, the absolute zero will last for 10 seconds to 30 seconds under the cover, and no movement. This is when the cold wave reaches the extreme center. At a certain moment, it will last for a few seconds, instead of continuing to absolute zero. I will do this next. It is guaranteed that there is a logical IQ explanation and response. Regarding the preparation of the glacier. First of all, the author has changed the article once before, because some of the plots are sensitive, so the mentality is a little burst, so the writing is not satisfactory, because of the subject matter. You will understand. In addition, the author of this book is not water. After 80,000 characters, the author began to conceive carefully, and regained his mentality. The author of the following plots must be guaranteed to see the explosion. Do not explode your address. I will sell you watermelons, and give me watermelons for free. In addition, the really cool plot is still after the ice cold wave. The book borrowed the Snow Country train before, but it did not copy. The author did not copy. Nothing. For example, the Snow Country train is the collapse of order. The author is the direction of the infrastructure train. As for the Ice Age, the readers told me that I knew that this game, Survival Blizzard, a game of human nature, was played by our countrymen very much. The survival doomsday game abroad has become a big construction. Big survival. What should I do if there is too much food? After the arrival of the Ice Age, our plot will be similar to the main line, but the new main line, because that is a rough response to blizzards. This is to deal with the terrifying Ice Age. Therefore, humanity, infrastructure, and so on will be the real hearty plot. In addition, set the update standard after it is put on the shelf. Available at 12 o'clock in the evening. If you order 2,000, 6 chapters will be updated every day, each with 3,000 words. If you order 4,000, 8 sheets will be put on the shelves every day, each with 3,000 characters. No matter how good the results are, it's impossible. In a word, if you have liked the feelings that the author of this book wants to express, please make a first order. Also push the book. Air Force, the king of modern warfare. Those who like to watch the Air Force can check it out. Fantasy Westward Journey. I became the master of Xihai. Those who like to play Fantasy Westward Journey can check it out. In a word, Thank you for your support. The second testimony for support and detailed bug explanation regarding absolute zero, but in the form of a novel. The author made an enhancement with physics and weather. It is not the absolute zero of cognition. But when the cold wave comes, the absolute zero will last for 10 seconds to 30 seconds under the cover, and no movement point. This is when the cold wave reaches the extreme center. At a certain moment, it will last for a few seconds, instead of continuing to absolute zero. I will do this next point. It is guaranteed that there is a logical IQ explanation and response point regarding the preparation of the glacier. First of all, the author has changed the article once before, because some of the plots are sensitive, so the mentality is a little burst, so the writing is not satisfactory, because of the subject matter. You will understand. In addition, the author of this book is not water. After 80,000 characters, the author began to conceive carefully, and regained his mentality. The author of the following plots must be guaranteed to see the explosion. Do not explode your address. I will sell you watermelons, and give me watermelons for free. In addition, the really cool plot is still after the ice cold wave. The book borrowed the snow country train before, but it did not copy. The author did not copy. Nothing. For example, the snow country train is the collapse of order. The author is the direction of the infrastructure train point. As for the ice age, the readers told me that I knew that this game, Survival Blizzard, a game of human nature, was played by our countrymen very much. The survival doomsday game abroad has become a big construction. Big survival. What should I do? If there is too much food point after the arrival of the ice age, our plot will be similar to the main line, but the new main line, because that is a rough response to blizzards. This is to deal with the terrifying ice age point. Therefore, humanity, infrastructure, and so on will be the real hearty plot point. In addition, set the update standard after it is put on the shelf point, available at 12 o'clock in the evening. If you order 2,000, 6 chapters will be updated every day, each with 3,000 words. If you order 4,000, 8 sheets will be put on the shelves every day, each with 3,000 characters. As for how much, it is impossible. Woo woo woo. In a word, if you have liked the feelings that the author of this book wants to express, please make a first order. In a word, thank you for your support. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69. August 19th, 203, 3:59 p.m. Point buzzing. The loud buzzing sound resounded throughout the north of Yanjing Point. The 100-meter high triangular arch train station is like a giant waterfall and mountains, and Yanjing, which guards the huge city with a population of tens of millions, is also like a giant backing. More like a giant magical giant Great Wall style building. Take the huge scale as the exit of the snow country train. If you look at it from the perspective of God, you can see a huge station that stretches over 4 million square meters and covers the northern and southern cities of Yanjing. Under the shining of the sunset at the last 4 points, the structure of the metal steel and steel bar station exudes a mechanical texture of black luster. This is like Victory's metal pipe craft, but it is 100 times stronger than metal craft. The bird's nest like metal steel structure exudes a powerful luster. The magnificent giant train station stands 100 meters high like a high-rise building, but it is found at a glance. It is impossible to scan the boundary of the train station point. This is magnificent. This time the live broadcast was conducted by the official filming team in person, using drones and shooting from a distance, truly shooting and broadcasting this great architectural miracle from an ultra perspective point. 4 million people were divided into 2 day and night engineering teams, day and night, mobilizing the nation's cargo loosing power and decoration power. A total of 50 days of project output will complete the infrastructure construction of the current train station point. Then the world seemed to be quiet, and it was 4 o'clock exactly point. Because of the sunshine, the setting sun is about to fall. This is the alternate time between night and day. Human eyes can only see the dusk receding, the night is coming, and the stars are shining, but it is not clear or close. to look at point boom. The train station checkpoint sounded one after another point boom. This is the sound of the opening of the giant iron gates of 700 stations, which means that the train is about to depart. Point buzzing. The deafening exiting sound resounded, as if a supergiant machine was roaring when traveling. The 120-meter wide giant track in front of you could tell everyone what a real giant dispatches. Boom. Accompanied by a burst of white starting air waves. Amid the roar of the whistle, a giant train as large as a mountain range appeared. It is 115 meters wide and 25 meters high. The whole body is a silver grey texture shell. On the rear side is the standard nuclear propelled energy cabin. This is a nuclear propelled cabin. Only nuclear aircraft, nuclear icebreakers, and nuclear submarines return. We must push nuclear energy more cohesively. Point. When the train appeared, the initial speed reached km/h per hour, traveling like a silver grey dragon. At this moment, in the official train live broadcast room, the whole people burst. Especially the netizens in the East are almost excited and hard to control because their people have created this great project by themselves. This horse is the Eastern Force, the first nuclear propelled train in history, the first giant train in history. It is also the first country to build a train in the face of disasters. In the total time of 50 days, all the high-level trains worked hard and finally saw the Eastern train. The Western trains built before were simulated by the West. They talked about many problems, such as track laying, train transportation capacity, etc. But no one unexpectedly, the Eastern National Power really did it. Great country, well-being, and well-being of railway workers. When the barrage exploded, netizens went wild with excitement, expressing their excitement point to witness the birth of a miracle from one's own country. Every compatriot has infinite pride. On the left side of Haitian Pass, on the boulder slope, all the team leaders of the Supernatural Special Research Institute also watched this scene with excitement. Point beside them are hundreds of designers who study trains, as well as the Nuclear Fission Reaction Institute, the Institute of Mechanics, and other teams. At the front of the team stands a young man with his hands on his back and a black military uniform shaking in the cold wind. His dark eyes are cold, and his aura is extraordinary. He is the leader of the special research team. Ying Ziyue. Point. He stood quietly, standing on the highest point of the boulder, enjoying the squally wind brought by the dust storm, his whole person standing still in the wind, standing upright, just like the train now moving. Point. At this moment, without blinking his eyes, he stared at the train moving at high speed with his own eyes. Now that the whole people have created the train, he wants to let the whole people know how great the train plan will be in the future. Only when the Ice Age comes, everyone will know what the Snow Country train means. Only when the glacial cold wave comes, everyone will realize how strong Xihai City will be. The whole world will know how terrifying the East's trump card is. Boom. The cold wind howled. Ying Ziyue was silent. You must know that he had thought about too many plans before. The underground city is undoubtedly the best, but Gaokun Underground is too sad, and the material survival pressure is extremely high. Especially the East has never feared any disaster. It's numerous fun to fight the destiny. This is the spirit of all the people in the East. It has been this way for thousands of years. It has always been like this. Life is also true, and so is death. Point. Call. Point. He took a long sigh, feeling the setting sun receding, and feeling the personal change of sunshine time. Point. At the same time, the chill hit, and layers of goosebumps appeared on the epidermis. Then it is not over yet. The shock before the disaster that follows. Point. Boom. Standing on the mountain, you can feel a slight shaking. Chenego, the geography leader behind Ying Ziyue, spoke. An earthquake from an uninhabited area on the plateau will come, and indirect radiation will affect the Xihai reservoir, causing the reservoir to burst. Boom. Sure enough, with even more shocking sound, a giant reservoir in the distance cracked, and only layers of violent currents came. Point. Boom. 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 The sky and the earth began to change color, and the last sunset turned into a faint black, which was yellow sand and strong wind. The sandstorm is coming. Prepare goggles, Zhao Feng said, and then distributed the goggles. It can be seen to the naked eye that at this moment, the sandstorm is coming from the plateau in the northwest, and the 7th level wind blows the trees and rages on the unobstructed plain. Point. As for the flood, it was roaring, rushing towards the moving train track. Point. Buzzing. The huge whistle sounded. Everyone saw it. The snow country train appeared. And 1,000 meters in front of the train was a sandstorm in flood. The barrage at the moment exploded frantically. The number of online broadcasters is moving toward 1 billion people. Eastern netizens and foreign netizens are watching this scene nervously, and the barrage is also frantic. Oh my god, the train is heading towards disasters, and this is a train that directly challenged the disaster in its first trial run. So what is the purpose of the train in the east? 4 to 5 meters high flood, let alone high speed rail. The suspension tram will be desperate, but this train is too crazy. There is no thought of stopping. The initial engineering trials in the east are crazy. Is this still that conservative country? There are many barrages from all over the world. But in short, everyone's sight is only left with this one. That is the speeding snow country train. Boom. It collided, and when the sky was dim, the train entered the squally yellow sand of the sandstorm, but it continued to move forward without any pause. Boom. The sound of the flood cracking. It is like a wheel crushing the water. The floods on both sides directly splashing dozens of meters high, forcibly forming a water barrier. This is not only a spectacular scene, but an epic scene. It broke through the sandstorm and galloped at high speed in the flood. In front of the huge train, the so-called flood had no half effect. The nuclear drive showed the power of terror, and the resistance in the water flow became minimal under the drive. Then the train traveled far, and the shadows were getting smaller and smaller, and finally only the sound of the whistle reverberated through the sea and mountain pass where the dust storm was flying. In front of the Xihai mountain range, all train crews and special research team leaders, nearly 400 people, all bowed towards the highest point of the Xihai mountain range, and toward the young guardian of the great country, Ying Ziyue, the top leader of the special research team. The snow country train plan, the wind and snow chain city plan, and the big country retreat plan were all put forward by him. Now everyone knows that after his plan is realized, it will be so great. In front of the Boulder mountain range, Ying Ziyue was in the yellow sand. He did not wear goggles, but felt the impact of the yellow sand. He watched the waves of the current flood, and felt the breath before the disaster. He turned around, and smiled at everyone. A pure smile. All our citizens, all our compatriots. The live broadcast continues. Satellites, street lights along the way, the military no man's land, to follow. There are also trains shining with silver white lights. The giant lights are lit up like a building, and 100 carriages stretched out like a silver moving dragon. Across the steep mountains and ridges, speeding across the dim mountains and oceans in the live broadcast room. The world's follow a train's perspective is like seeing a miraculous train driving near a point at 7 o'clock in the evening. The live broadcast has been live for 3 hours. This is the Northern Ecological Park train station, accompanied by a deafening buzzing sound. Around the northern train station, close to hundreds of thousands of northern citizens waved small flags and then looked excitedly at the giant train in front of them. Boom. The train comes in, the live broadcast is closed, but the barrage is still frantically scrolling. Mike, God, the miracle of human industry. I swear this is the greatest train I have ever seen, and the East really wants to start the era. Chen Baichen, I have a hunch that the train will usher in an era, and now it has proved the strength of the Eastern industrial system. Wind innocence, welcome to the great train era. In the face of disasters, Dongfang has never retreated half a step. Instead, it has risen to difficulties, and the whole country is fighting against it. Chapter 70. August 20th. At 9 o'clock in the morning. Since today, news is no longer discussing disasters, nor is it about the economies of various countries. It's a hot search. No one. The advent of the engineering era. After the trial operation of the Orient train and the disaster, a brand new era was opened. The West calls it Train Kinayan, the Mega 9 o'clock an. Twitter are all about global engineering presuppositions at 10 o'clock in the morning. The hot tubing search first changed again. Because of the Eastern Train Project. In order to restore confidence in Western democracy, the United States of Rose's government also issued new news. The hottest search first, the National Underground Defense Station Human Epic Project. There are several cameras in the white community of Alsau in the Rose Country. Governor Mir stood straight. He has blonde hair and looked very energetic. A camera was set up in front of him. The blonde reporter was interviewing Mr. Mayor, what do you think of the United States of Roses in the current era of global engineering? Or what do you think about it? The blonde beauty reporter spoke and interviewed Governor Mayor stood as straight as possible. He pointed to the two-story villa community behind him with great pride. First of all, the East started the trial operation of the train. It was excellent, and it looked great, but the West was as powerful as our project, and it was huge. Have you seen me behind it? This is among thousands of large underground defense stations, one of, mere finished, and then in the interview, he pushed aside the villa. This is an underground passage with thickened super iron gates, which can defend against impacts, nuclear shocks, etc. After entering the underground defense station, this is an environment. It's a great underground, but it's not a dungeon, it's just an underground residence. It also has access to each other's family. There is also a central square where you can gather, play cards, smoke, and drink. After interviewing the residents and walking out of the villa area, the reporter from the blonde could not help commenting, the underground defense station, this is indeed a very sci-fi plan. So as one of the managers of the defense station, you are concerned about the next infrastructure project in the East. What do you comment on with the Western Underground Defense Institute? Governor Mayor pointed to the back with a smile. It was a villa-level rich community. He proudly said, our projects are also in full swing. Their trains are great. I don't know what their infrastructure projects are, but I can only say that the infrastructure of the United States of Roses is 80 years ahead of the world. Our kingdom building is 1 year from beginning to completion. Our disaster-resistant infrastructure will also be the world's #1, Governor. Mayor finished speaking, then took off the gentleman's hat and proudly made a gentleman's etiquette to the camera. In the morning, 11 o'clock. Not only the United States of Roses launched the Underground Defense Exhibition, North Glacier and other countries, in order to enhance the confidence of the people, in order to compete in the engineering age, they also announced disaster preparedness projects at 11:10. The seaside of the small city of Ace in the northern glacier Shenmei country. The ocean here is located at the northern end of the Northern Ocean. Nearly hundreds of reporters are urgently filming the scene of the stalwart in front of them. In front of the beach, a giant 100-meter high, 100-meter wide fully enclosed ark stands on the beach. At this moment, hundreds of reporters were exclaiming and filming. Is this the Hangzhou plan of the North Glacier country? This is simply the legendary Noah's Ark. There has been a national defense station in the Rose country. The East is an unknown infrastructure, and the North Glacier is a great arc. The global situation has begun after the beginning of the East train, and the era of global engineering has begun. A generous blonde reporter couldn't help sighing. In front of the arc, the army was stationed, and the head of the Shenmei National Ark was also stationed. This is a middle-aged colonel. He paced to the reporter. Click. Click. The sound of taking pictures sounded continuously. Everyone, the East has opened an unknown infrastructure. The United States of Roses announced the underground defense station for all people, and our Northern Glacier country has also prepared the greatest plan. This is the Hangzhou plan. We are currently building this kind of ark. Please believe it. In the next engineering era, the North Glacier country will shock the people. The white colonel spoke, followed by a round of applause. This scene has appeared all over the world. The beginning of the new year by Eastern train opened the global engineering era. At 12 o'clock at noon, the hottest search on Twitter became global engineering era. All Western netizens are paying attention and leaving messages. Mats, I believe that the underground defense station of the United States of the Roses, if disaster strikes, the whole world will witness the greatness of underground space. Western-like comments abound. East at noon. The weather is gloomy and the temperature is getting lower. 0 fine flowers. The closer it is to October, the greater the chill and squally wind. And the greater the change in sunshine as you here and here, the wind is whistling, and here is the rooftop of the Yanjing railway station. On the rooftop, Ying Ziyue stood, and Zhao Guofeng was reporting the news behind him. The United States of Roses officially announced the National Underground Defense Station, and held an exhibition on Western social news platforms. North Glacier Shenmei country demonstrated the Hangzhou Ark project to the world. There is also Kawasaki country, that Tsar and others are involved in underground and ground bunkers. The moment the Oriental train opened, the world entered the era of engineering. Now the Global Meteorological Bureau predicts the weather and predicts that disasters are not far away, so the world is now paying attention to the Oriental Infrastructure Project, are doing their best to prepare for disaster defense trump cards. Zhao Guofeng was reporting, 0, clatter on the rooftop. Ying Ziyue nodded, then pacing sounded point standing at the highest point of Yangjing with the naked eye. One can personally feel the magnificent waves of national demolition. All the high-rise buildings were toppled down. The foundation began to be excavated every minute and every second. Construction materials were placed neatly in each community waiting for the infrastructure. The street lights were extremely bright overnight, and teams of workers began to install tower cranes and mixers, waiting for the end infrastructure for the whole people. On the rooftop, watching the grey sandstorm at the sea and mountains ahead, and the whistling and chilling wind, Ying Ziyue listened to the preparations for disasters in the United States of Roses, North Glacier Country, and Kawasaki Point. Because of the influence of the East, an invisible era of global engineering has begun, Lieutenant Colonel Zhao. Ying Ziyue said, and just as he spoke, it was like a chess piece had fallen. Here. The latter nodded. Let's start. The layout of nuclear icebreakers in the southern provinces. The layout of global infrastructure, from agriculture to the layout of factories. Let all the people see with their own eyes that a great new mechanical era is coming. Ying Ziyue spoke, and the latter nodded. The wind roared, and the chill made people tremble, but Ying Ziyue didn't feel anything. He had experienced chills 100 times more terrifying than this, and also felt the despair of -2 Badis. All he has the ability to deploy after life and death, from the beginning of the train to the beginning of the year, and then the era of global engineering. The world resisted the Ice Age. Then who can resist the glacier and win the era? Wide Chapter 71. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the instructions of the Supreme Special Research Institute started. In the south, this is next to the Steel Province, called Hunan Province, which is famous for swamps, rivers, and migrant workers. Here are mostly lakes and mountains. It is cloudy in the afternoon. In Daping City, Hunan Province, large trucks are transporting icebreakers to the outskirts of the city. This is a giant icebreaker, which is transported by multiple giant trucks. When passing through an ocean university, many ocean students have seen the giant icebreaker. Hey, if you guessed it right, this is a nuclear-powered icebreaker, and it's still Hull X2 specifications. It's an ultra-thick hull, plus a giant nuclear-powered ship. The icebreaker is here. This is to do. What is it? A flat-headed college student couldn't help but sighed, astonished by July 10. By his side, several classmates also showed surprise. Our side is an inland area. Although it is relatively close to a maritime province, I don't need an icebreaker. A fat student with glasses curiously asked. The big countries must have plans. The icebreakers are arranged here. They must be planned. This type of icebreaker can cut through the 30-meter thick ice layer, and the hull is so thick that I don't even pass through artillery shells. It is the magma that can continue to float for a while. This is probably a step to resist disasters. With a clear-thinking academic analysis, the surrounding students nodded one after another as they continued their discussion. The fat student wearing glasses couldn't help but exclaimed, "Look at the phone." In our school group, after the fat students finished speaking, others opened the school group one after another. A group of Ocean University. There are a lot of news in the group. Fuck, do you know, now every province in Hunan has transported an icebreaker. I don't know why. I heard from the professor that the southern cities are all transporting icebreakers, and they are all placed in high-rise suburbs. Now the changes are really getting bigger and bigger. Dragon-sized trains, global engineering, and icebreakers. I completely believe that there will be disasters next. Putting down their phones, the students of Ocean University looked at each other. On the road, the horns of icebreakers and trucks sounded, and pedestrians took pictures on both sides. The sky is densely covered with layers of gloom, as if the temperature has begun to drop. Since 1 p.m. The major southern provinces, especially those near the sea, have many reservoirs, and the provinces and municipalities with large rivers have parked an icebreaker that has not yet fully formed at the highest point of this urban area. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There are 10 million train stations in western Zhejiang province in the south. This is the southern train station. As a major industrial province, the southern train station has adopted the most innovative bird's nest steel structure. At this moment, the trains from the northern ecological park slowly stopped here point in front of the huge train station. Many steel factory workers working nearby were watching this majestic scene. The speed of the train slowed down like a hill, and then slowly headed towards the train checkpoint. Then, in front of the train checkpoint, black heavy mechanical dolls appeared. These robot puppets began to check the damage of the train layer in a unified manner, and at the same time, opened the train station to enter the checkpoint point. After entering the train station checkpoint, the mechanical computer began to calculate the number of trains and transportation point. These were seen by many steel factory workers who came to visit, and every brawny man had a strange face. The train is stopping towards the deepest point. The nuclear energy train stops very slowly. At the forefront of the steel workers, the head of the steel plant is Lee Man-san, the director of the steel plant. He is here to guide the branch. A group of people who have never seen the world don't know that they are mechanical dolls and mechanical computers. Don't you know the materials of the mechanical age? Director Lee Man-san asked curiously, and everyone else shook their heads. The factory director Lee Man-san smiled helplessly, and he pointed to the robot doll outside the level. This is a robotic doll, a technological doll, that can be used in extremely cold, extremely hot, and extremely dangerous environments. It uses a semi-intelligent chip. Southern Glacier has been used many times underwater. There are also mechanical computers. As for mechanical computers, there are not many advantages, but they can be used in extreme environments. For example, normal precision instruments will stop working under extreme high temperatures and low temperatures, and your Apple phones will shut down protectively under extreme cold. So if you are fighting against disasters, you must use this kind of heavy machinery. The director Lee Man-san talked freely. As the director, he is also very interested in technology, so he can explain clearly. But then, he froze for a moment with a proud look, and then began to be stunned, and then his eyes were directly horrified, as if he knew some kind of terror project. The current news, the icebreaker, the huge empty train station with a scale of tens of millions in front of him, and the countless steel branch factories, the more he can feel a terrifying layout from these point-propelling trains, and then layer upon layer of station checkpoints, as well as robotic dolls and mechanical computers. This is clearly the prevention of extreme cold and extreme heat disasters. These mechanical technologies may also be called new mechanical technologies. Call. Taking a hard breath, the black-faced brawny Lee Man-san's expression became more and more shocked, because he thought of another terrifying fact. Not only the current trains, but also the huge steel design models of the steel mills, a huge steel city wall, a large 100-meter long bracket, a 20-meter wide and extremely cold resistant steel hollow slab. There is also steel for transportation across the country. There are also big cities that are about to build a nationwide infrastructure. These data seem to be like a clear and strict line with perfect and stunning steps. These lines are connected. That is the rear of new mechanical disaster prevention. Thinking of this, Lee Man-san, the black-faced brawny man, shook directly. He turned on his phone and looked at the global engineering news from the West, not knowing what expression to put on. The West is still preparing the so-called underground project, the Ocean Arc Point, but they probably never dreamed that what the East had to do was to build a new system of machinery to prevent disasters. It can also be called the country of new machinery. It's 20,000 words today, and 10 in the morning. Chapter 72. Outside Ying City, before the sunshine disappeared in the afternoon, Ying Ziyue was pacing around the northern and southern cities of Yanjing alone. It was 4 o'clock before the sunshine disappeared, and the cold was permeating the skin, as cold as bones. But along the way, I watched the demolition and foundation, and watched trucks pulling piles of construction materials in transportation. Seeing the spectacular scenes, Ying Ziyue didn't feel the coolness at exactly 4 o'clock. The setting sun began to sink slightly, just like the advent of a dark epic era. Yanjing did not demolish except the highway, and all the rest were undergoing final demolition. On the highway where she stood, Ying Ziyue suddenly looked ahead. Beside him, a few teenagers dressed as students also stopped, because several people saw a large truck. Behind this large truck, were rows of trucks. Each truck body was printed with transportation, food, engineering support. 8 red characters. The trucks were full of bags of grain. The truck fleet was very long. At least 40 trucks passed by. As a result, the road was dusty. Many passers-by were taking pictures, and some people were accustomed to it. This is a grain reserve, dear. Now the whole country is carrying out grain reserves. A student exclaimed, "Our country's strength is normal, and it is also normal to do it." A fat 02 student in the lead said with a smile. He is patriotic and knows the power of action in the country before the disaster, but this is too fast. Another student gasped, "You tell me that forest fires, earthquake rescue, flood rescue, and mudslide rescue are in the fight against disasters? Which one in the world has our strength? It is before the disaster, so the unity of the East is reflected." The fat student patted the shoulders of the students around him, a fat face full of pride. Call after breathing out a cold breath. Ying Ziyue smiled as the person in front of her spoke. This is why the East can start the Snow Country train project. Unity. At certain times of disaster, the unity of life and death is carved in the bones of the faint. Sunset is receding, and the crowds are returning home one after another. They are homes in the suburbs and temporary housing. As for the current colleges and middle schools, they are now conducting online classes because of the national infrastructure. The night was screaming. Ying Ziyue finally went home before the sky was dark. Yulong Villa, due to its proximity to the suburbs, has witnessed the demolition process of the communities in front of them. Back in the bedroom, the parents are preparing dinner in the living room. In the bedroom, Ying Ziyue turned on the phone. The first news is the tip from the classmate group. A lot of 8 news. Civil Engineering University Group 1. News 99+. Infrastructure 2 Series Zaonan. Have you received the infrastructure drawings at Ying? ML protected. We have received the infrastructure drawings. Let us be responsible for the construction of the first batch of residential buildings in Yanjing North City. I will tell you an amazing fact, that is, the thickness of the newly constructed building has reached 1 meter. 1 meter. I suspect that we live in North Glacier or a hot country in the central equator. Simu 1 Series Ku, with a thickness of 1 meter, this residential building is protected from extreme cold and extreme heat, even strong winds, sandstorms, and the residential building is 1 meter thick. What will this city look like? Haven't you seen the large-scale steel reinforced structure that is being transported now? This is only used for large-scale engineering structures, and the stacked steam pipes are also used for large-scale projects, especially the surrounding city walls. I heard from the professor that the city walls will have the great isolation effect. Is that I don't know what kind of disaster weather is to isolate. There is a lot of news. Most of these civil engineering students have suspended their studies and are assigned to major engineering teams by academics. As for the 1 meter thick residential building, this is not surprising. More than 10,000 years ago, when humans were facing the cold and living in the open tundra, facing the extreme cold, they could build rock houses, snow nests, tree nests, and even small tents made of yak hides facing the cold. In modern times, there are the North Glacier Isolation House, the Western Stove, and the Eastern Earth Dragon. As for now, the 1 meter wide building on the first floor is only the first step in the city to isolate the temperature. This is the Ice Age, not the Little Ice Age, nor the so-called blizzard. It is a disaster that can freeze all mankind and break an era. Therefore, it is necessary to prepare a perfect card to protect against the cold. From 4 to 5 o'clock, Ying Ziyue is designing the wide snow chain city scheme. At 6 o'clock exactly, Ying mother called for dinner. The food on the table is very hearty. Stewed bones, stir-fried Chinese cabbage, and stir-fried pork with peppers. This is the benefit of a large agricultural country. While it can be completely demolished, while agricultural eggs, meat, and vegetables are normally supplied to the country, fresh food can be eaten even in disasters. Ying Fu couldn't help sighing. Don't say it, you will be busy next. As a senior in real estate, you are responsible for the next large-scale infrastructure tasks and infrastructure projects. Ying Mu smiled. By the way, midnight, you majored in engineering infrastructure. What kind of houses do you think the country will build? You must know that now many engineering students in your school have been incorporated into the Yanjing engineering infrastructure team. Ying Fu looked curiously, asked Ying Ziyue, who was looking down at the meal point clatter putting down the chopsticks. Ying Ziyue smiled sincerely. The students in our class said it would be a 1-meter thick residential building. With the current machinery, it would be a very magical building. Ying Ziyue deliberately only said 1 point, and sure enough, the face of the real estate high-level father showed pride on his face. You young people, you know that you can guess based on things. In fact, it's more than that. Different constructions will be started in the north and south, because the blizzards and cold currents are different. As for the appearance of the city, you can refer to those science fictions. Giant city movie. The more Ying's father talked, the more proud she became. As for Ying Ziyue, she seconded and exclaimed point after eating. Ying Ziyue went back to the bedroom point. It's 8 o'clock in the evening, and in normal society this is just a meal time. But now when you open the window, it is already pitch black and chilling point. Last year's planet was exceptionally hot. As for this year, Ying Ziyue does not need to guess. At the moment, most of the North whites living in the North Equator are in the cold, and now it is estimated that 710 is on the stove point. As for the countries in the southeast and eastern countries, there will be storms and frosts due to geographical reasons. As for the north and south ice countries, the whole country will be covered with snow in the beginning of September. As for the ocean, as many as thousands of marine organisms have died out due to the lack of oxygen in the ocean point. This scene has been informed by the Meteorological Bureau. The extreme cold is coming. Ying Ziyue blinked her eyes. The Global Meteorological Bureau just thought it was extremely cold, but didn't know it was not point. The extreme cold is only the beginning point. The next third of the land is covered by a meter thick layer of ice, and the sea level will drop by an average of 130 meters mond minimum. Sunspots, oxygen-free oceans, dense orbiting galaxies, sunspot activity weakened. Sunspot-free period, infrared radiation weakened, and the atmosphere dropped crazily. And then it equals, can humans really survive this period? Hoo hoo hoo. The cold wind blows into the bedroom. Ying Ziyue's mind is thinking clearly about the influence of the galaxy on the Earth, then the influence of the Earth on the surface environment, and then thinking about the human survival plan. Humans may not be able to resist it before, but now it is possible. At least Dongfang can take a gamble. After the gambling is over, it is the direction of a new human civilization, which may subvert the human cognition of all civilization structures. Everything is before the storm in the middle of August 203 of the Ice Age. The Global Meteorological Bureau jointly voiced that it is suspected that the Mond minimum period is approaching. Please strengthen disaster preparedness around the world. Chapter 73. August 21st point at 9 o'clock in the morning. The sunshine has not broken yet, because the Global Meteorological Agency has predicted that the extreme cold disaster may come, which led to the global disaster dispute point in the infrastructure meeting room of the Special Research Institute. The lights were on, and Ying Ziyue had arrived early. Point time does not wait for me. This is a message sent to the whole country. As the leader of the special research team, I should do my best point at this moment. The infrastructure team consists of 4 members: Zhuo Yan, Luo Ken, Zhao Guofeng, and Lin Ping. The head of the interior, leader Ying. Global meteorology issued an extreme cold warning last night, and now global projects are moving towards cold resistant projects, Zhao Guofeng said, and then he jumped out of the most searched Twitter in the West Point. Twitter, the hot search number 1. The extreme cold weather is suspected to be coming. The global extreme cold project is in preparation. Western hot search reviews. Everyone read it a little weird. Mike, I come from the great United States of the Roses. From the very beginning, we built underground fortifications, as well as large-scale fortifications. We even built huge underground transportation trenches in some large cities. The so-called extreme cold came to great white people. It is said to be an easy disaster. RSCO, the top students of the Eagle Nation passed by. We passed the small glaciers of the 1808 period. Now the so-called extreme cold is nothing to fear. As long as it is not zombies, volcanic eruptions, or asteroids hitting the Earth, there is nothing terrible. Accepta, it turned out to be an extreme cold disaster. I think the civilization of the North Glacier country can enjoy it. The extreme cold disaster is not terrible. Click. Looking at the comments, Zhao turned off the Twitter projection and couldn't help but speak. Do these guys really think it's just the extreme cold? Do they really think it's only -50 degrees, -70 or 80 degrees? This horse riding is an unprecedented glacial disaster of 150 degrees below zero, 150 degrees below zero, 200 degrees below zero, and 250 degrees below zero. It's not just these, it will be at least 1/3 of the animal and plant races when the blizzard freezes the Statue of Liberty. In the West, they will probably know what this extreme cold means. Zhao couldn't help it. He smiled bitterly. Because Western democracies seem to have misinterpreted the power of this disaster, really thinking that human technology can determine everything. Ying Ziyue waved his hand. Zhao and others stopped talking. Standing in front of the meeting room, Ying Ziyue looked at everything in the meeting room. The West still thinks it's extremely cold weather. They don't know what will happen next. The next step is to directly enter the Little Ice Age. All the crops exposed to the world will be wiped out. Then the agricultural supply chain will be broken, and Western food will begin to be scarce. As for the opening of ecological greenhouses underground, it is useless, and the plant output will be too small to spare. Then the living space will be compressed, and the voice, physics, capital flow, and the original living space of all species will be completely compressed. Who could have imagined that the prosperous cities will be surrounded by glaciers, and as for the western land, it will be the surface of the cold wave that has frozen humans in 15 seconds. Clatter. Clatter. Ying Ziyue said every time he walked, until he stopped. Turning around, Ying Ziyue looked at the crowd, smiling slightly at the corner of her mouth. So, do you guys know why Danfang is the snow country train, and the wind and snow link city? When the blizzard roars, when the wind sobs, when the cold wave comes, when the world's ground buildings are reduced to ice sculptures, then the world will see that the snow country trains are humming and galloping, and the eastern snowy city stands up against the cold wave. This is why the East adopts this plan. Ying Ziyue seemed to be talking to them, and also seemed to be talking to the people all over the country. Zhao Guofeng. Ying Ziyue spoke, as if a decision had been opened. Here. The latter stood up and saluted. Open the nationwide infrastructure. All join the infrastructure power. Receive. The latter ordered and looked excited. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the Mega Special Research Institute issued an announcement, ranking first on the entire network. Content from now on, the nationwide infrastructure construction begins. Universities, white-collar workers, companies, in addition to vegetable farmers, workers, and necessary operators. The entire nation will invest in infrastructure projects to fight disasters together. The special research group was followed by the official accounts of provinces and regions, and community posts. It's 10:30. The first post of a certain degree of popularity, post 90 post forum, is a post on national infrastructure. In the meeting room, Zhao opened it at will. And he saw the message on plus every minute. Elephant years. It started. Damn chickens, icebreakers, snow country trains. I know, just for this moment, the cold resistant project of the national infrastructure. Nothing else. Support the big countries. Woohoo, the post-90s supporter group. Now our community is starting to shout for registration. According to your age, physical fitness, and ability to excel, you will register and manage, and then start project assignments. Such as some girls are assigned. When it comes to logistics, start making big pots of rice, etc. As for the youth, they can distribute materials, record materials, and then turn on mixers and other tasks that do not require technical skills. Wind and Snow City, the snow country train is over. The new infrastructure city is opened. The sunshine time is shorter, and I feel more and more chill. Zhao smiled satisfied and closed the forum. As for the screens in the conference room, there are constantly refreshing news about national infrastructure, and so on. Headlines. Originally why the icebreaker was shipped to the south. It turned out that the big country's anti-cold plan was opened. The great country train was originally called the snow country train. Why did the national demolition go on for a month? Everything is for this moment. 1 billion people paved the way for a month, just for the great project at this moment. Long live the motherland. Certain tone. Live broadcast. Guangcheng Agricultural University all joined the engineering team. Nothing else. Just the infrastructure construction is over. 3-minute video. Let you witness our country's icebreakers, snow country trains, and plans for the nation's demolition of huge cities from the cold. The West is still in the underground defense station, and it is still showing off the temperature with pride. I'm sorry that from now on, the East is going to fight the disaster. Click point, the projection is off. There are too many, and there are countless news on the internet nowadays. The community began to record. Colleges and universities began to record, and then all the people started construction this afternoon. Point in the conference room. Ziyue Yan was extremely excited, and it was a hearty enjoyment to watch the country start infrastructure construction with his own eyes. If you look at it from the perspective of God, you will see dust in every city in the East. This is a dust of demolition. There are also countless seas of people and crowds. This is a crowd of infrastructure teams. Kawasaki country. Point at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there are not only Oriental students in the United States of Roses and other countries, but also in Kawasaki. Point Kawasaki University. Kawasaki University. At the moment the Japanese style university tea house, Oriental students, and Kawasaki people are all watching the Oriental infrastructure video on TV at this moment. The United States of Roses probably never imagined that the project in the East would be so great. Nearly 2 billion people are building infrastructure at the same time. What kind of huge cold-proof building do they want to build? A Kawasaki student with a pigtail smiled bitterly. Point beside him, several former students studying in the East looked at each other a few times. This is just an extreme cold disaster. There is no need to use this. Ziyue, large-scale project. Zihai, a foreign student, frowned. He chose to stay in Kawasaki before. Now it seems that this choice seems to be wrong. Opposite Zihai, a Kawasaki man said in a complicated voice, now the Dongfang card has a quota of tens of millions of dollars, but it still can't enter. So do you know their defense strengths in? Beside him, several white people who were dining also looked at it complicatedly and couldn't help but speak. This is just an extreme cold disaster. There is no need for such a huge project in the East. Yes, I think the United States of Roses has done a good job, and the underground defense has solved everything. Several white people nodded in agreement. Point, it's just that no one has seen that sunspots are rapidly decreasing in dense galaxies. It is August 21st, and the temperature has reached sub-zero. You must wear warm clothes. All scientific research institutes in the North and South glaciers are being evacuated because of extreme temperatures. All living beings are in various forms, the layout of various countries, and all projects are freely exposed before the glacier. Only the East is silently shutting down the country, continuing to build and develop, and wait for the cold wave to come. Chapter 74. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the Special Research Institute issued a Yanjing invitation to urban designers since August 20th. The sunshine duration has slowed by half an hour, and the weather has been mostly cloudy. Point, the Supernatural Special Research Institute stands on the northern outskirts of Yanjing, surrounded by heavy military area guards, which is extremely strict. Point at 1:30, in the panoramic meeting room of the infrastructure group. In front of Ying Ziyue was a blank map of the nationwide city that was completely demolished. Point, standing by his side was Ziyue Yan. Behind him was Zhao Guofeng reporting. Team leader Ying, the designer of Yanjing City, arrived from the south. Guangcheng, a huge designer with a population of 20 million, has arrived. Point, Zhao Guofeng reported a total of 17 famous urban designers in my country, and then he looked at Ying Ziyue. Arrange these urban designers to take a look at the Yanjing infrastructure project and gather in the Urban Design Conference Room of the National Research Institute at 8 p.m. and finally decide on the urban design plan. Ying Ziyue spoke, and the latter nodded. Point at 2:30, the cold wind whimpered. Point in front of the north gate of Yanjing City, red flag cars were parked neatly. 17 elite middle-aged men in suits and shoes stood elegantly, and each of them looked a little excited. Point, 2 hours ago, they received an instruction from the Supreme Special Research Institute to come to participate in an urban design conference. Everyone, I'm Ziyue Yan. I'm instructed by the Special Research Institute. I will show you the Yanjing infrastructure project. Ziyue Yan got out of the car and opened his mouth. Then the group began to walk into the north of Yanjing City. The head of the team was the urban designer Chen Jiang of Guangcheng. He once designed Guangcheng, a huge city with a population of 20 million, and is known as the father of urban designers. Next to him is Ruan Bei, the designer of Xihai City, one of the designers of the technology city point. After entering the North City, the first thing I saw was the scene where the demolition was completed. There was no dust. After the demolition of each community was completed, people and rain treatment were carried out, so these designers could see the vacant land in the city. Only the road is left, the foundation that has been excavated, and a rough house for an experimental residential building. It is 4 stories high and 1 meter wide. When this rough room appeared, the expressions of the designers present changed a bit. What kind of building is this? Is it a new project? Shanghai designer Ruan Bei couldn't help but exclaimed, yes, all these houses will follow. Ziyue Yan said. After he finished speaking, the urban designer team became more and more astonished, and everyone's expressions began to change with excitement. Residential buildings with ultra-thick walls. This kind of building only appears in the underground nuclear station. After all, this kind of building can better protect against disasters. All of them. Shanghai designer Ruan Bei was shocked by this answer. He couldn't imagine what this city would be like with such super thick residential buildings. The city would be full of power and texture. Then the team continued to move forward. There were trucks unloading near the construction sites on both sides, all of which were huge machinery. At the moment in front of the team, Guangcheng designer Chen Jiang and Ruan Bei couldn't help but breathe in air when they saw this scene. 100-meter long giant steel bars are like giant steel bars erected on residential buildings. But what are these giant steel bars built to make high-speed rail passages? This steel is only used in Sichuan and Shu areas. Next to the steel bars are steam pipes. If I'm not mistaken, every residential building is surrounded by giant steam pipes. Chen Jiang said solemnly. After he spoke, the expressions of other city designers changed completely. What kind of urban design is this? Completely break through the original plan design. What kind of urban planning is this? The thickened residential buildings, the steam pipes erected, and the steel bars full of metallic luster. What does this city look like? Chen Meng, the urban designer of Beijing, said with a trembling voice. He seemed to see a giant city of a new era coming towards him. After he finished speaking, everyone else began to realize something. They continued to visit the construction sites one by one, only to see piles of huge steel plates 20 meters long and 20 meters wide on the side of the construction site close to the periphery of Beijing. These were twin steel plates with a hollow in the middle. This is a city wall, a steel city wall, which can store high isolation materials, can defend against shocks, and can also withstand low temperature pressure. Guangcheng designer Chen Jiang said, and now he really realizes something. My country's nationwide construction of a city will really be a brand new model. Along the way, the more you go to the inner city, there are huge steel plates, steam pipes, huge stone bricks piled up, underground steam pipes, and so on. There are so many large buildings. When they walked near the train station, the group saw the train station that stretched like a giant mountain, 100 meters high, but covering an area of 4 million square meters, almost a huge rolling mountain range. I see. Guangcheng designer Chen Jiang gave a wry smile, and then his voice became extremely solemn. The train station uses a triangular arched mechanical structure. Almost 80% of the support frames are made of steel bars, and triangular columns. The city is full of steam pipes, huge iron plates, and huge steel bars. This shows that this is used to build a city of mechanical steam. After Chen Jiang spoke, other urban designers changed from excited to pale. They were invited by the Supreme Special Research Institute from all over the country. Everyone had a plan to build a great city for the country's infrastructure. They thought about countless urban rules, such as the Western Water City, such as the all-stone Xihai City, and Country Villa City in the United States of Roses, North Glacier Warm City specifications. But when they really came to Yanjing and watched the infrastructure materials in person, the 17 city designers discovered that everything was wrong. This is a brand new mechanical steam building. The extra thick walls and steam pipes are for the harsh and extremely cold temperature isolation. As for those mechanical structures, are to resist some more terrifying disasters. They don't know what it is, but they know that this urban design plan is unprecedented. Does every city's temperature isolation method have to be so terrible? Ruan Betty said complicatedly. This is just a preliminary temperature isolation. After Ziyue Yan spoke, the others were stunned again. This is only the first temperature isolation method. What is the temperature isolation method after the city is built? The steam channel is not enough. At this moment, all the designers seem to understand something, and then there will really be a terrifying low temperature, so the big countries will carry out the mechanical steam construction plan. Next, there will be a wind power group, a technology group, and a stronger technology skin insulation. This is the city of mechanical steam technology. Ziyue Yan said. After he finished speaking, every urban designer trembled. Sure enough, all aspects of the increase in temperature, all aspects have reached the most to withstand the extreme cold. This afternoon, 17 designers trembled through the north of the city with excitement. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Yangjing National Research Center Urban Design and Planning Conference Room. In the meeting room, 17 planners are sitting in the meeting room, and everyone's face is still in the shock of the current infrastructure. Clatter. The sound of footsteps sounded. The door was pushed open, and Zhao Guofeng walked in. Good evening everyone, I'm Zhao Guofeng, deputy leader of the Special Research Group. To make a long story short, you have seen the infrastructure plan, and now there is only one problem, and that is to turn the nationwide city into a city of steam machinery. It is August 21st. All the projects must be completed by the beginning of October. In a few days, do you think it can be done? Zhao Guofeng spoke without any rush. It's totally impossible. Nationwide city building. Ruan Bei, a planner of Shanghai, frowned and questioned. On the main seat, Zhao Guofeng stood up and spoke calmly. Now that the demolition of cities across the country is completed, the foundations are completed, and one half of the construction materials are transported. It means that everything is ready. The special research team issued orders in the morning. Universities stopped. National companies stopped. All economic development, scientific research development, all stopped. The whole country has joined the infrastructure engineering team, and there are 2 billion people in our country, which means that the engineering team has 1.5 billion people. The remaining 100 million people are the national decoration team, and the remaining 400 million people are vegetable farmers, factory personnel and logistics personnel. Tell me if there is enough time. Snow Country's train tracks, trains, and train stations took 45 days. The total number of people in the project reached 50 million. The task was successfully completed. Tell me if there is enough time. There are still 50 days left, with a total population of nearly 1.8 billion, and infrastructure for the whole people day and night. Tell me, is there enough time? There is also the special research team leader who formulated the Snow Country train, wind, and Snowlink City. You tell us which plan is impossible to complete. Dongfang has always completed its miracles with doubts. Clatter. After taking the last step, Zhao Guofeng finished speaking, and everyone was silent, and a needle drop was audible. His voice is like a picture that has changed these days. The West does not think that we have completed all the projects that have been completed, guaranteed to complete the construction of the mechanical steam city. Guangcheng city designer Chen Bizan is straight, and he takes the lead in speaking solemnly. Guaranteed to complete the construction of the mechanical steam city. The remaining 16 urban designers also stood up and shouted loudly at the same time. 2 billion people are building a nationwide infrastructure. The so-called difficulties are afraid of a bird. Snapped, snapped. The applause went from far and near the door until the door of the conference room was pushed aside by the guards. A cold-looking young man in a black military uniform walked into the meeting room with applause. He scanned everyone first, and then bowed slightly. Good evening everyone. Ying Ziyue, leader of the special research team. Congratulations on joining the urban planning team. Welcome to build a wind snow chain city, and welcome you to join the national disaster countermeasure. Next, let the world witness the blizzard of the city coming down. Ying Ziyue spoke, cold and clear, like a snow country train. This is the last step before the disaster. It will also be the last reserve of the East. Chapter 75. At that time, the urban design conference room was silent, and needles dropped. Everyone is immersed in the vocabulary of welcome to the urban planning team and welcome to fight against disasters. Clatter. The pacing awakened everyone's thoughts, and all urban designers once again looked at the leader of the special research group with piercing eyes. After all, this man is known as the youngest decision maker in history. In the designer's first position, Guangcheng designer Chen Jiang's expression changed a little. He stared at Ying Ziyue and suddenly thought of the previous project from the highest level of the Special Research Institute. Close the door. Train in snow, wind, and snow chain city. The decision maker in front of him is really terrifying. All his decisions are perfect cards against disasters, and they are all the most perfect mega projects. To deal with disasters, whole cards. Thinking of this, Chen Jiang looked at Ying Ziyue's gaze more and more admiration. Not everyone has the courage to open up the country before the disaster. Clatter. With the sound of footsteps, Ying Ziyue walked to the main position. Everyone, now the construction materials, foundations, engineering teams, logistics teams, and architectural drawings of each city are all marked. The city as a whole is made of mechanical steam steel giant bricks as a prominent structure. These cities must be the guardians of the eastern people, withstand the extreme low temperature. Ying Ziyue took out a bunch of documents. These were all the materials he had produced before. He had grown to the chief architect in life and death in his previous life, so he understands what is called wind and snow chain. Leader Ying, what is the extreme low temperature? Designer Chen Jiang asked, his eyes trembling, as if he was really aware of something. To be precise, he had a hunch that there would be a terrible disaster that could not stop the spread. Beidou is not the limit. Ying Ziyue spoke with his backhand. Hiss, hiss. At this moment, every engineer's face changed in the design conference room. It is not -2 Beidou. According to the Global Meteorological Bureau, it is -70 degrees at most. Conventional buildings can avoid snowstorms, but if it is a continuous storm, large-scale projects must be constructed to achieve temperature isolation and material transportation. But at this moment, after team leader Ying spoke, these city planners thought of the snow country train, thought of the wind and snow link city, thought of the great project that started 2 billion yuan, and then a series of reactions. They all realized what? -2 Beidou, it is not the limit, which shows that the next one might really be the most terrifying disaster in human history. The head of the designer, Chen Jiang, looked a little trembled. He knew why the East had started such a great project, and everything was in response to the next disaster. The more so, the more the Chen Jiang is trembling. This is the courage of the East. Now all projects in the West and all countries are preparing plans to avoid disasters. Only the East has opened up the national infrastructure, opened the ecological greenhouse, and opened the Great Snow Country train. What the East has to do is to challenge the extreme cold. After Ying Ziyue left, the urban design conference room was still extremely excited. The 17 designers all looked at each other, and there were the proposal bags on the table. We are going to build a giant city to protect the people of the East. Is this the plan for the wind and snow chain city? Ruan Bei still trembled, because the great project in front of him was too shocking. The collective power of 2 billion people. Open the project. Chen Jiang said. As the project sheet is opened, the solution appears. No one yanjing the train guards. The construction of the triangular protection of the giant city. The total population is 1.75 million. The steam pipeline is set up with the temperature isolation device of Victory and Glaciation. The underground is equipped with an underground reservoir and an underground grain storage base. The plan is as follows. No. To Huangshi County Northern Ecological Park Train Guard, surrounded by cold-resistant super vegetables, fruit tree greenhouses, steam pipes. Adopt an open-air eruption structure, equipped with wind generators to provide all-day supply. Building an agricultural giant city. Detailed giant city planning. The picture is as follows. Each city project list appeared one by one, and the project lists were extremely detailed. Each city was equipped with underground warehouses, underground greenhouses, train conveyor belts, icebreaker transportation locations, building structures, steam dispersion locations, and city wall structures. The engineering teams were divided, and finally sketches. color sketches, and then the infrastructure is completed. Then a wave of decoration, technology, and temperature isolation treatment. The construction of the wind and snow city is completed. After reading the complete and detailed national infrastructure drawings, everyone was amazed and indulged in the amazing infrastructure drawings of the special research team. I bet after the construction is successful, the world will be amazed. Designer Chen Jiang speaks loudly. Everyone, I hope we will build the most spectacular city in this era. Chen Jiang looked at all the designers. 16 designers stood up at the same time. We will do our best to build a city of wind and snow. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the meeting ended. When a group of people were escorted out of the National Scientific Research Center, a group of designers walked out of the gate of scientific research, and a group of official reporters were interviewing the beginning of the infrastructure project. This interview is an official indication. The purpose is to enhance the confidence of the people. I saw the headline reporters and media reporters all set up cameras under the street lights at the entrance of scientific research, and then interviewed with microphones. Hello, are you all urban planners? The media reporter asked. The group nodded. Hello. First of all, the national infrastructure has begun. Now many people are discussing infrastructure. As urban designers, what do you want to say to the national infrastructure? The media reporter opened a mouth. Clatter. Chen Jiang was the first to stand up. He stood straight and made a loud noise. I'm willing to build a new city for the whole people's infrastructure. This will be a promotion for the entire nation's infrastructure in the East. Chen Jiang said. The interview lasted for half an hour. Before it was finally over, the interview was released at 9:30, and it was directly ranked first in the hot search within a dozen minutes. 10 o'clock. Rose United States Ma's house of apartment. This is an international student dormitory. All the foreign students who have not returned from the East live here. At the moment in the room, a tall young man wearing gold glasses is frowning. His name is Chen Ziyue, a native of Yanjing. He did not have a corresponding policy of going back before being locked up in the country. Instead, he stayed in the United States of Roses. He is from Massachusetts. Zuba, my parents do business here, and their background, academics, etc. are extremely high. Before that, Chen Ziyue had never regretted it. He thought it was normal for someone with a high-level background like him, but now looking at the news from Mika, he doubted his choice for the first time. As a PhD in aviation, he doesn't know much about infrastructure, but at the moment he looks at Dongfang Mega first hot search in a day's. Hot search first. Oriental City designer team is willing to protect the brand new city with life. After seeing this hot search, Chen Ziyue has been fidgeting. He didn't know what the city of the East was, and he was able to make a group of top city designers speak out about the protection of life. The more he thought about it, the more disturbed he became. Chen Ziyue opened a foreign software project. This is an engineering forum called XXSFWE. It is a forum knowledge developed by Massachusetts colleges and universities for top students in the industrial field. After opening it, it is full of various complex industrial construction knowledge, such as what conditions are needed to build a living island from ice glaciers, and so on. After registering his identity, Chen Ziyue sent a forum message. Title: Oriental City designers are willing to build a city with their lives, as well as national infrastructure, machinery, giant steel. And what do these plans for the East represent? What is their plan for the city? After posting the relevant content on the forum, Chen Ziyue couldn't help but clenched his fist, and now Dongfang stopped any entry and exit. The United States of Roses will resist disasters. He gritted his teeth and inspired himself. In less than 10 minutes, a series of forum replies appeared. Ross, machinery, steel, neat, nationwide infrastructure. As an engineer, I just want to say that it's impossible. The East wants to build a city of machinery. What are they going to do? The ancient city of heavy machinery, if it is a defense. What a tangled bastard answer. Professor Poke, mechanical steam flies to the surface. The city of heavy machinery, as the largest country in steel production, they actually started such a great plan. Mr. Mars, bloggers, you should know that the East has launched an infrastructure disaster plan. You can call it the construction of countless mechanical giants. I can only say that humans cannot do it. According to the current sunshine time, it will be less. The temperature is dropping rapidly, and it is estimated that the extreme cold weather will soon come, and there are about 60 days left. Believe me, the East can't do it at all. Looking through all the replies carefully, the international student Chen Zichen's expression became more and more as hen. He found that the East really wanted to carry out a terrifying infrastructure to resist disasters. Damn it, someone analyzed it. In 60 days, what you can't do, you can't do it. Chen Zichen snarled, as if regretting his choice. Find flowers at 11 o'clock in the evening. From this engineering forum to the meager in the West, many bloggers and high academic professors tweeted, and then thoroughly demonstrated the answer. Twitter, YouTube subscription. Click no one. Eastern will build a city of infrastructure, machinery, and steel within 60 days. This is a Western social platform. Under the current disaster, it has become the #1 clicker. Under this news, people in the West are also madly leaving messages. Disbelief, is it crazy to build a city of steel in 60 days? What are they going to resist? This kind of device can start a cold weapon war. Finetals, Allah is here. They are too crazy. The plan is too frightening. The snow country train, and the snowy city, the crazy project. Their people are too united. I have never seen it in history to such a united people. Lotten, machinery, and steam, steel, and trains, agriculture and industry. My god, does the East really want to arrange large-scale cold-resistant trump cards in all aspects? The long night, the cold wind howls, the rustling cold wind comes from the north and south glaciers, crosses the Siberian plain, then rushes into the heat, and finally reaches the east of the subtropical country point in all the empty cities along the coast. The temperature is now -30 degrees. As for the inland cities, it is still the temperature for normal survival point with the windows open. The weather in Yanjing hardly needs to be watched by the weather forecast. 000, the sound of sobbing resounded in the bedroom of Yulang #1 villa. Ying Ziyue felt the chill swept all over her body. The sound of the wind swept through, and her hair was blown up. The chill is raging on the epidermis, and every epidermis is sensing the temperature. Ying Ziyue can accurately predict that it is about 10 degrees below zero, which is late at night, and the temperature drops faster. Turning on the phone, blowing in the cold wind, the first hot search is still meager. City of mechanical steam, the hot search is the hot reviews of Eastern netizens one by one. Chen Ziyue, I finally know, the city of mechanical steam, now the West is bombing, and they are all saying that we can't make it. Let them see what the power of the 2 billion people is to build a nationwide infrastructure. Zhao Jiang, yes, I only know one thing. The projects in major countries are all correct. The snow country train proved that special disasters transported the whole country, and the West probably doesn't know how many infrastructure miracles our country has created. 2 billion people are fully prepared before the disaster, and there is nothing impossible in the wind and snow city. As for Western Twitter, there are all kinds of doubts. Question whether the project can be completed in 60 days. Question the useless work of mechanical steel engineering. Too much. Call. Ying Ziyue sighed, as if all the chaotic thoughts had blown away with a spit of air. He stood quietly, feeling the chill, which made himself clearer and clearer for the next thoughts. Infrastructure construction does not need to intervene by itself. 2 billion people will prove it. As for the 60 days mentioned by the Western Meteorological Bureau, this is ridiculous. Lifting her head, Ying Ziyue looked at the high altitude position in the east. That is the direction of the current sun entering the weakening period, and it is also the reason why the planet is starting to get cold. The eyes turn to the north and south glaciers. Starting 2 years ago, a large amount of ice and snow melted in the higher latitudes of the north and south poles, and the seawater began to desalinate, which then affected the warm current of the Atlantic Ocean. This led to the cancellation of all the national warm current conveyor belts in the northern hemisphere. Now the temperature has dropped sharply. At the same time, the Earth is moving, and the Milky Way is also moving according to a certain galaxy route, causing the galaxy to enter a dense galaxy. As a scholar, countless minds record knowledge. From astronomical starry sky to model speculation, Ying Ziyue observes the present Earth from the perspective of God. Strong orogenic movement appears, and the conversion of thermal energy to mechanical energy appears. It was less than 5 times during the Great Ice Age. appeared in 10 days. The sunshine has shortened, the temperature has dropped rapidly, less than 50 days later, and the blizzard has started from the north and south glaciers the whole world is resisting, and it depends on who has the ability to overwhelm the nations. Ying Ziyue sighed, then closed the window, and the chill disappeared, as if a chain of wind and snow appeared. Ice Age. Since the end of August, Dongfang Machinery Steam City has been a hot topic around the world, and in the new era, Dongfang is called the new year of the train, the leader of the new mechanical era, the division of new projects, and the host country of the glacier. Yesterday, today's 20,000 characters, the author's code is up. And I will continue to make up tomorrow. Wide end of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.